All right. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Am I audible to everyone? All right. Sounds good. So let's wait for a couple of more minutes so that people can join in, I guess, since it's 8:01 only. Guys, we'll take these batch doubts as well today for half an hour. First half an hour, I'll just make you go through the platform and what you will be doing for next week or so, like next couple of weeks. So that's where you'll be practicing and doing all your jobs and doing all your assignments. Okay. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. So let me start. I'll just share my screen. I hope my screen is visible. All right. Today is basically an introduction class, so we won't be having a lot of coding discussion today. We'll be more focused on general discussion. So yeah, I'll just first give my introduction. So this is Abhijit Jain. I'm currently working as a software engineer at Avamo Technologies, and I have graduated from BITS Goa as a computer science graduate. And yeah, I'm working with Acciojob for past 1 year now. So yeah, that's about me. And I'll be taking all your doubt sessions for the pre-course session and hope to see you soon in the main batches. Okay, so let me first make you go through the platform. So this is where you will be working for the next couple of weeks. So there's something called join class at the start itself. So you can click on this link and you can straight away join the class. And then we can go to pre-course. So pre-course is where what you will be doing. This is the completed part. Like I have solved these, so this is a completed for me. Otherwise, everything will look like start unit, start unit. So you need to start solving, and each unit has its own assignments. That means each unit will have coding questions that you need to solve. The number of questions in each unit is not fixed, so it will vary depending on the difficulty level of the unit. So like see, intro to programming has 2 units. Similarly, data types have 3 units, conditionals have 2, loops have 5. Since it's a trickier topic, so we have kept 5 practice questions for you. Then there are additional practice questions also. Okay. Am I not audible clearly, guys? Can someone confirm? All right, Mansi, you need to check your connection. There might be some issue. Just drop back and join again. Okay. So this is your platform. So we also have a tracker for you, like what is the number of assignments you need to solve so as to get to the interview and ace the coding test in an interview. So we have something called individual doubt session as well, because since it's going to be more in number, like when we take a general doubt session, so we have kept individual doubt session for you as well. So that's going to be every day from 4 to 7 p.m. or 11 to 12 a.m. You can just click join line session during the time and you'll be redirected to the link. Okay. And there's another called join Discord and ask doubts. Those who haven't joined Discord channel yet, they can join, ask their queries there itself. The team is also there to help you out in any way that is possible. Any doubts that are there regarding to Acciojob, any coding doubts, or any other ISA problems you have, you can join the Discord and ask it there. The team will be more than happy to help you out. Okay. So for those who were not able to find the recording, you just need to click watch recording here and you'll be redirected to the correct place. Okay. So this is about it. So after each day, there will be a class ended watch recording here by, I guess, 12 a.m. or something like that. We'll get it up as soon as possible so that you can, you know, watch the recording if missed lecture. I highly recommend you to join the lecture so that all your doubts are cleared then and there itself. Okay. So yeah. So pre-course orientation is quite the same. So it's not a big issue. So yeah, otherwise all the classes will be live recorded. So they'll be updated on the live day-to-day basis. That's why the other recordings are not available as such. As and when the classes are updated, we'll update the recordings for you guys. So each day the classes will follow a similar pattern. Right now we are having general discussion. Otherwise, from tomorrow onwards, we'll have a regular doubt session that will be 8 to 9. And from 9 to 11 goes your teaching that will be taken by Ritik. So he'll be taking your live classes. So I'll be taking on all your doubts. So I'll explain the pattern of doubt sessions also, like how are we going to go about doubt sessions so that it's pretty clear, like at the start itself, since we are around 300-400 people each in the each class. So what we will be doing, instead of taking doubts individually, what I'll do is I'll take each and every question, I'll explain the question, I'll solve it, and then I'll entertain all your doubts. So that way, all the doubts are catered. Because if I go on solving each and every doubt, that becomes a little haphazard, and more and more doubts will be missed. So I think that is pretty much clear. Okay. Yeah, Ankit is posted the right way. You can get the recording on Discord as well. So don't need to worry about that. All right. So everything clear till now? Any doubts? All right. So I hope it is clear about. No, you cannot join the main course, Arun. That's the way it is, because we want to test you on the basis like if you're able to perform well, if you're dedicated enough, because in the main course, you're not going to invest anything at start. You just need to sign a contract and you'll be paying only if you get placed. So that's the contract there. So that's why there's a pre-course, so that we get sincere students only, like, because that's about it. Yeah, they can definitely get placements. See, it's all about your hard work, your perseverance, like how well you are coding, how regularly you are practicing, how well you are performing in the mock interviews. So we will be having mock interviews regular basis after each module. So that way we'll be assessing you. So if you perform well, you'll definitely get placed. There's tons of opportunities out there. We'll get most of the opportunities, and we'll make you get referrals for big companies as well. So there's no less number of opportunities. It's about how well you are able to utilize those. Yeah, Twinkle, it's the kind of first day of the teaching. Yesterday was basically the orientation session. So that's why I'm just taking an intro session for you guys, because nothing is taught yet. So I won't be taking anything as such. I'll be taking notes tomorrow itself. So tomorrow onwards, there won't be any entrainment of these kind of questions. I'm making it very clear. So if there are such questions, you can ask them on Discord, or if we'll try to get them clear by today itself. But if there are some left, please ask them on Discord. From tomorrow onwards, we won't be taking any such questions. If like 2 or 4 5 minutes are left at the end of the out session, we'll take them. Otherwise, no. It's a big no. Okay. And each question will be covered only once, guys. I'm repeating it once again for you, because we have more number of questions and less number of classes. So we'll be taking each and every question only once. So make sure to join the doubt class regularly so that all your doubts are cleared then and there itself. Because it happens it happens very often, like someone wants to solve intro to programming when we are on conditionals or loops. So that way we cannot go, because we have to cover all the questions so that more of the doubts are cleared. So for that, we will be solving each and every question only once, and I'll be taking enough time. I'll be giving you enough time to entertain all your doubts. There won't be, I ensure you that there won't be any doubts left as of now. But yeah, you need one thing, please make sure you need to watch the classes before joining the lecture, because otherwise each and everything in coding is linked to the other. So if you're not able to have watched the previous recordings, you won't be able to solve the next questions. That's the thing. So all of them are linked. It's not like yesterday class is not linked to today. They are linked. Like the teachings of yesterday class will be used in today's class. So we take it as a prereq because we have taught it now. So we'll be taking it as a prereq that you guys know. Like if I taught data type steps and variables, so I'll be using them in conditionals, and I expect that everyone knows. See, Nisha, all the assignments are uploaded here itself. So these are the assignments that you need to solve, and these are more than enough as of now, because the pre-course coding session, coding test, and the interview will be based on these modules only. There won't be any similar questions, but yeah, questions that are similar to this will be there. No, Parami, it's nothing like that. See, even after joining the company, if you're not performing, so over time, every company is going to lay you off. So it's all about once you join the company, if you're able to perform well, no company is going to lay you off. No company wants to go back into the hiring procedure and get another employee and teach him well. That is never a case with any companies. It's all about how you perform, because if you perform well, you'll grow very quickly in software development jobs. It's like multi-fold increase when you go from SD1 to SD2, then SD3. It's not like 10-20% increase. It's like 80% increment, 70% increment. That's how the increments work. So you need to work hard even after joining the job. It's not like once you join the job, it is done. It's not like that. If you're not performing, no company is going to pay you anything. That's the case. Okay. Rafi, then total fees is dependent on how much your CTC is. If you're below 5 lakhs, you don't have to pay anything. If you're above 5 lakhs to 10 lakhs, then you have to pay 1,20,000 plus GST. Then if you're above 10 to 18, then it's 180. And if it's above 18, then it's 240. And you don't have to pay all the amount in one installment. We are also keeping the financial burden as less as possible on you guys. So you have to pay a small installment of 10,000, 15,000, 20,000, depending on your CTC to us. So that is not much to ask, but yeah, that way you won't have any financial burden as well. Paramir, I guess I have answered your question. Yeah, Birinder, you don't really need to give the test, but it is highly suggested that you take the pre-course well, understand and solve each and every problem, and take the test if you want. Because in the main batch, we'll be picking up from where we have left in the pre-course. We won't be repeating the things in the pre-course as well. Okay. So don't think that, okay, I'll take the front program and skip the pre-course. That is not the case. You will have to learn the pre-course on your own if you have not attended the live classes or not watched the recordings. So we will have to learn anyway, and these things won't be taught again. So pay attention, guys. This is just a start of main batch only. It's just that we have broke down two parts so that we know who all are sincere enough and who all are dedicated enough. Yeah, Shubham, you can, no issues. No, it's not like that. 20 centigrades before should not leave the class. It's just that they have to pay upfront because there's a risk factor involved there. That's why it is there. Otherwise, you should definitely attend the classes so that in the main batch you are not lagging behind. Bhavin, what is it that you need to be explained? Can you please be a little specific? Yeah, course, like this course starting from scratch only. So the main course will start building up from here. So we are starting from scratch. We'll teach you everything that is starting from print statements, how we are coding, what is coding, everything will be taught. Don't worry about it. It's meant for the beginners. That's why we have designed it in such a manner that every beginner can know it well. Yeah, there is a guarantee for placement. That's what Twinkle, what do we mean a pay after placement is, if you are getting placed, then only you will pay us. Otherwise, don't pay us a penny. That's it. Naseem, I'll look into it. If there's a problem, I'll get in touch with the team and get it resolved. Don't worry. Yes, there is no other course after it. It's just that once you are in the correct job position, in the correct job description, you just have to work hard. You just have to grow multifold. That's it. There are promotions, appraisals every year. Year on year, you'll start growing, because what you will see in service-based job is the growth is quite slow. But when it comes to software job, the growth is quite high. The increases are not in the manner of 10-20%. The yearly increase might be 10-20%. The moment your designation gets changed from SD1 to SD2, your salary will be multifolded. Yeah, Parami, we'll be helping you throughout the course to get a job. As soon as the DSA is finished, you'll start getting job opportunities and we'll start getting you placed as soon as possible. No, Gurpreet, I have answered this query pretty clearly. There's no such thing like anything like that. See, placements will start right after DSA is completed. So that's going to be approximately 2 months, 2 to 3 months. That's the time. No, you don't need to pay upfront fee for the pre-course. Pre-course is entirely free, just to give you a hack of how the main course is going to be and what is expected out of you. Yeah, mechanical engineering can also join. The tentative date of starting the course is 28th or 29th of July. It will vary by a day or two, no, not more than that. 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. is your class time from for now and for the main batch as well. Monday to Friday in the main batch also you'll have classes from 8 to 11. The time is kept in such a manner that even if a person is in the job, he can also attend the classes well and well. Yeah, laptop is compulsory. You cannot code from the phone. That is not humanly possible. You have to, yeah, yeah, you can definitely target it on Amazon. It's no such thing as you cannot target to this or that company. We have people placed in Google, Amazon, Walmart as well. Yeah, recordings are available after live class. Yeah, is it twice possible? Like there's no such thing that you if you're 25, 15% you cannot go. Arun, it depends. Like this is a varying factor, but yeah, someone from my field only will be taking your TN session as well. So no need to worry about that. See, 23 batch placements have already started. If you look at college placements, they have already started. Like August is the starting of 2023 batch placements also. So it's the same for you people also. There's no change. No, you don't have to pay for the main course. There's no upper cap on the students we take in the main batch. It's just that if we are having more number of students, we'll divide you into two groups so that each will be called as a batch. Like, see, if it's batch set 21, 22, so 22A, 22B. We will be giving you individual attention to each and every one of you, so don't no need to worry about that. Yeah, you will get a certificate after completion. No worries. See, the projects, I won't be giving any details. Like we suggest you ideas, but we highly recommend that you come up with your own ideas because it's about you. It's about your imagination, what you think out of to build something. That's about a project. So we giving us ideas is not the correct thing to do because then it will be more, a common project. Even if I give you a specific project to batch of 90 students, that becomes a common project. Like each and every student is bringing up the same project. So that way it becomes a common project. So we can give you a list of projects, but from those projects, it is better you get your own inspiration and build your own thing. That way you will have something unique from others, something that is differentiable from others. Otherwise, if I say you to build a calculator, you just Google how to build a calculator in Python, Node.js, any language. You will be able to code it within 10 minutes, 15 minutes because you'll get the entire code. You don't need to do anything. So that way, when the projects become common, they become less important for your resume. See, there's no risk factor as such. Like you just need to work hard. That's it. There's a certain policy we have created based on that. We are not allowing 2017 for placements. But yeah, if we are getting enough opportunities for both the cases, you know how the startup culture is these days. Everyone knows like startup don't care about what your uh, like from where have you graduated, when have you graduated. All the thing that matters is the skills. If you have the right set of skills, they will definitely hire you. That is for sure. Rutikesh, I guess I've answered that question. There's no upper cap on that. Yeah, you'll be like Ankush, the course will go on and you can attend the lectures if you want. That's up to you. We are not denying that you cannot attend lectures. We want you to get placed as soon as possible. That's so that a big burden out of your head goes away. Like placement is a big burden that goes away. Then you can attend the class. Yep, that's what you need to do. That is non-negotiable. No, Bhavin, that is not the course for you because we are looking for immediate joiners. Like when the 6 months course is ended, within 1 or 2 months, he should be able to join the company. So that's why this course is not meant for you. I would say you need to wait for a year, then you can join the course. We are looking for final year or final year students, all those who have already graduated. Yeah, you can definitely solve assignments using C++. It's just that we don't teach C++. That's why we insist you to go for Java because the main batch and the pre-course will go in Java only. But you can code in C++ here and in the interview as well. We don't have issue with that. It's just that you need to learn syntax on your own. See, the previous batch is not yet placed, guys. Previous batch means like previous batch was last month. So that is not ideally possible to get placed in 1 month. So yeah. What do you mean by HR interview, Shubham? For any software developer, the main part is cracking the technical interview. If you have cracked the technical interview, HR interview is just a piece of work, just a piece of cake that you can get along. Yeah, sir. Anyone can join the program, Abhishek. We have no issues with that. Yeah, Piyush, it is easily possible. It's just that you need to give enough time to this platform and this course. You will be good to go. Yeah, I guess there's a contact number on the website as well. So that will be your contact number if you want to get in touch with anyone. The Discord servers will be created for each of the batches where your mentor, your instructor, and the team members of your batch manager will be there. So they'll be taking all your doubts. So the DSA questions will be added to the Acciojob platform. Like there's a pre-course, there will be similar kind of assignments that will be given to you after each class and after each week, and that you need to solve. And there's a common gym as well where you can solve the questions. See, we are not providing an internship program as of now. So no, I would say. Yeah, Shalini, this course is definitely for you. It's up, like all we want is a good amount of time that you are investing, good amount of time, and that's it. Yeah, everyone is eligible for the course. It's just that if you want to opt for after placements, then you should be graduate after 2018. That's the only condition we have. Yeah, we are providing certificates too. Uh, Ashish, then you'll have to wait for the interviews to start. The interviews will start from, I guess, 20th or 21st of July, 21st or 22nd July, and that's when you can start the coding test. And these are the DSA questions, guys. These all are DSA questions only. So if you have learned DSA, you can start solving. Otherwise, go with the class. Each day, a topic will be taught, and you have to solve those assignments and come back in the next out session and ask your doubts. Bhavin, I've answered your question again. I'm not answering again. No, it's a no. We're not providing internship programs as of now. In future, I don't know, but as of now, we are not. No, there won't be any tutorial class. The tutorial class I'll be taking from tomorrow onwards, so that will be the case. Okay. There is an individual out session. That's what I told you at the start of the class. Please, guys, listen to me very carefully. There is a doubt session that is an individual doubt session where you individual doubts will be there. A mentor will be sitting there to clear any doubts that you have. Either final year graduate or a graduation is compulsory. Yeah, that is compulsory. 3 months is the time. Software development, that's what we are betting on, right? It's a software development course. So you will be getting software development, full stack development jobs. You'll be starting with basics of coding today. Today there's a lecture. The lecture will start at 9, sharp 9 a.m., 9 p.m. Yeah, you will get 5 lakh package. That's what we are guaranteeing on, right? We are providing, if we are making files like fresh graduates eligible, there's a reason for that. Yeah, you can definitely use CPP, anything. We have no issues. Graduation is not compulsory. We are allowing final year graduates as well. But yeah, only final year graduates or the graduates. That these are the two people that are eligible. See, there's no fixed number as such. We have a hit rate of 70 to 80%. So whoever is going to complete the course is definitely going to get placed. That's about it. Yeah, I definitely learn interview skills because there will be mock interviews after every 2 weeks or 3 weeks where we'll be checking you how what's your progress, like what are you doing these days and how well you are coped up with the course. There's no week off. Don't expect it's a 6 month course that we are teaching in four. The things that are taught in 4 years, we are teaching you in 6 months. So don't expect any holidays. Saturdays and Sundays are comparatively on lighter side, but yeah, no holidays. 5 to 6 hours is what we expect you to spend per day. Batch size is not definite, guys. I've told you. I'm telling you once again. There's no definite. We are open to any number. It's just that how much talent you're able to show us, we'll be taking that number of students. We have a certain criteria in the interview. If you are able to match the criteria, we'll be taking you in. There's no cap on that. See, we prefer going for software development jobs only. So I don't know about the testing job because then specific things skills are required for tester job as well. It's not that easy or that piece of cake. Yeah, it's Bhavin, it's up to you. You can watch the recording later, but it is highly suggested that you attend the live classes so that all your queries are entertained at that moment itself. Yeah, you can make an APK. It's not a big deal. Like not the mobile application kind of thing, but yeah, web application you can because it's a full stack web dev course. It's not mobile application development. Gaurav, it's going to be your choice. Up to you. Like what your interests are, where your interests are aligned. So that's where the things goes. All right, I see a lot of questions repeated now. So I'll be stopping with entertaining the questions. I'll just go through one of the questions and stop it here itself. Yeah, these all are fresher jobs only. Students getting placed in Walmart, these all are freshers only. See, if you're going to repeat these questions each day, don't do it, guys. I will ignore it by choice. I'm telling you right again, once here itself. Repeating questions won't make sense. It's just spam the chat box and it will miss important questions. I'll take each and every question. That is my promise. But yeah, if you're going to spam the chat box, I'll just figure a way and I'll start banning you. That's the thing. So please don't ask questions repeatedly. That's not the case. There's no minimum percentage, guys. This is DSA question, guys. What do we mean by DSA question? This is DSA question. This is DSA. And I guess the point of the course is to get your software development job, not a teaching job. So I guess that's pretty evident. Krishna, you can just relax. The main match is going to start from 20 to 20, and that's when you can join. See, chat session cannot be disabled, but please stop asking repeated queries. No, Discord is the only medium we make contact through. There's no WhatsApp contact as such. See, 2022, every month we had a batch or two. So that's up to like calculations, I guess. Say, 8 to 9 batches are already in running for year 2022. No, placement is not guaranteed, but the same set of opportunities are also provided for pay after play upfront as well. So we are not differentiating anything. The program is going to be entirely same for upfront and pay after placement. So the next session will start at sharp 9 p.m. So I'll be logging off by 8:50 or so. Yeah, you are Jyoti, you are eligible to give the pre-course test. There's no cap on the number of tests you can give. It's up to you. We don't have issue. See, Harshvardhan, I don't know the details about this course, so I'm not sure whether it is going to help or not. The next batch will start the day, like, see, it starts on 29th, 30th of July. So 1st or 2nd August, the pre-course is going to start again. Gopika, there might be some net issue. Just hard restart your Chrome. You will be able to log into the site. Placement percentage is 70 to 80%. Guys, don't repeat your questions. I'm seeing it once and for all. I'm taking each and every question for a reason. Because DSA is more demanded in Java and JavaScript is for the development language. JavaScript we are teaching, but the Java is as a DSA language and JavaScript for the WebD. Because JavaScript is a base for both Node.js and React. Both of them are frameworks that are built on that. It's there on the site. Please don't ask repeated question, guys. It's irritating now. Please stop asking the same question. Just go on the site once, look around. You will find most of the answers there. The site is quite informative for everyone. Yeah, the recorded session will be available for later. Okay, so yeah, no worries. We'll be teaching you all the Java language itself from scratch. So moving on to the coding platform. So this is where the questions will be. These are your submissions. So like whether you have failed the test case or passed the test case, depending on that. So this is your submission. Like this is your question, like what you need to do in your code. This is the way the input format is going to be. If the user is providing input, this is going to be the output format out, like what you should print out of your code and what should be the format of that code. Okay, and this is a sample input output that will be given to you just to explain like how the question input will be provided. See, Paramir, it's not like we are giving you only one company to sit and you have to get placed there. There are tons of opportunities. We obviously know that getting a placed in sitting for the first company and getting placed is quite difficult. So we're not expecting you to get placed, but we want you to get placed as soon as possible. Sahil, I guess I've cleared this question again and again. I'm not answering this question again. If you're going to ask repeated questions in this manner, see, it's going to waste your time and my time as well. If your queries are not entertaining, it's a loss for you. I'm here to answer all your queries, but if you're going to ask repeated questions, that won't make sense. No, Saturday Sunday is not off. Saturday Sunday is neither off in main course or nor in pre-course. In main course, you will have coding tests, you will have like soft skills questions and everything. The time load will be less, but not off. Winkle, I'll look into it. I'll just test one of these codes right now itself. And yeah. All right, let's move on to the first question now. I guess we have taken plenty of doubts. Okay, so welcome to Java is the first question. Welcome to the world of Java. In this challenge, you will learn how to print hello world in standard output. Okay. Complete the code by copying the code, 2 lines of the code below and pasting them inside the body of your main method. So this is the body of your main method. There is what you need to paste these 2 lines. Okay. That's it. This is the way you run the code just to test whether your code is running or not. Okay. So it is taking quite some time. Run code. Yeah. So hello world, hello Java. Okay. This is the sample output that is expected. So it's correct. So you click on submit if you're satisfied with your sample output to see if your test case have passed. If it's passed, the solution accepted will be popped up and it's done. So this is your main interface. You can switch between light and dark theme according to your comfort. I'll be preferring light theme. Okay. And see, there are other files language as well. C, C++, JavaScript, Java, Python. These are the 5 languages that we are supporting at present. So you can code in any of these 5 languages. We don't have issue with. Okay. Yeah. Finkel will be taking these assignments tomorrow itself. So don't need to worry about these. Yeah, Rahul, that will be taught in today's class. Don't worry. The difference between print, ln, print, everything will be taught in today's lecture. So no need to worry about that. Yeah, we are definitely allowing that. If you're placed in say 8 lakhs company and some company with 18 lakhs comes up, then you are definitely allowed to sit in that company. We don't have issue with that. Okay. See, this is just a sample run that I wanted to show you like how the platform works. Don't worry about any of these lines. Every line will be taught in today's lecture. So wait for a little. He'll be taught. Ritik will join in. He'll start at 9. So he'll be taking all your doubts regarding this. So I hope any doubts about this platform, how to use this platform is clear. Okay. No doubts about this. Now you know where to code, what to code. What to code is what you need to teach you. Otherwise, any doubts about platform, lecture, like joining the live session, how the TS session will go, how the live lectures will go, everything is clear. I'm hoping that no. Okay. So yep. Language is going to be English. Ritik's first lecture is going to start from today, I guess. So yeah, how we'll be uploading after he takes the lecture today. Yeah, you can if you have a competing offer or if you have a better offer, then only you can reject one offer. If you don't have another, you cannot reject one. Yeah, laptop is compulsory. No, these are just question specific points. So you need to score full points to complete each of these questions. So your code should pass all the test cases, then only you'll get full points. No, 4 o'clock won't be possible because we have many people who are working right now. So that's why we found this time as the best one, since in the night everyone is quite free. So that's why this time is chosen. See, there's a very less chance if you're able to complete the course, if you're attending mock interviews, if you're doing assignments religiously, there's like zero chance right now that you get placed. If you're leaving the course in between, then that is up to you, because then you are messing up with your career. No, there won't be any classes on Saturday, Sunday, so don't need to worry about that. Aarti, I guess I've answered that question pretty clearly. Okay. Yeah, the screen is off for a reason because there's nothing more to show as of now. So, yep. So we are teaching Java from scratch only for a reason, so that anyone who doesn't know this language can learn it and start coding in it. We are not denying that you cannot code in Python. It's up to you, but you'll have to learn the syntax on your own. The lecture will start at sharp 9. You can Google any site. It's online GDB compiler, ID Geeks for Geeks, CodeChef, Code Forces. There are tons of compiler out there. You can try out any compiler and code wherever you like. Yeah, we are okay with that. We don't have an issue with it. Yeah, education gap is allowed. No issues. See, these ISA things will be answered by team. I'm not the correct person to answer these doubts. Node.js. So Kajal, it's not an issue, right? We are teaching everything from scratch. Every print statement, scan statement, how to take input, output, everything will be taught to you. Just wait for some time. The lecture will start at 9. You'll know everything is going to be started from basics itself. So no need to worry about that. Yes, assignments completion is recorded. We are tracking each and every student's progress for a reason, so that we can help you out if you're stuck somewhere. All right, so that's pretty much it from my side. So Ritik will be joining in next couple of minutes. So he'll be taking over now.
Hi, people. Ritik is joining in 5 minutes. I hope you guys can hear me. Yeah, okay. Meanwhile, if there are some questions, I'm happy to take it. Fee structure. Okay. All of the stuff related to the course and the ISA as well will be explained to you guys by our CEO only, and it will be done on 21st. Stay tuned. First of all, don't focus on other things. Focus first on learning. First, go through all the classes, attend all the doubt sessions. If you have any doubts specifically, if you have already solved ones, if you are someone from the last pre-course, then please practice a few more questions. If you have any doubts, please ask it in the open doubt section. You can always join that and ask your questions. If you can clutter around 5 to 6 questions in total and then ask, it would be great for you guys. Career gap, not a problem, not a problem. Even if you have 2 3 years of gap, 4 years of gap, even it is not a problem. Yes, 2016 pass out is eligible, but not for pay after placements. You'll have to join upfront. Yes, Acciojob starts new batch every month. We have new batches every month. Abhay, diploma holders can join the course, but they can join only upfront by choosing the upfront mode. Yes, BCom students are also eligible. Yes, 2022 pass outs are also eligible, definitely. Sohail is asking, if we fail in last year, did can we get a job? Sohail, for getting a job, at least you need to have a degree or a diploma at least. No, 12th pass students are not eligible for pay after placements. However, Sana, if you want to upskill yourself, if you want to learn coding from scratch, because we are teaching from scratch, what you can do is you can attend the pre-course, and after that you can join the main session by paying upfront. The course fee will be 80,000 rupees, 70, I think 79,999 is the course fee for you guys. No, I think it is around 70,000. 69,999 is the course fee plus 18% GST. You can take up the course upfront if you want. You can upskill yourself. It will add to your skills. It will not go in vain. Okay. Jyoti, not a problem if your English is not so good. You just need to express your ideas to the interviewer, even if you are appearing for a coding interview or maybe a coding test in front of companies, in front of a whole panel. You just need a proper communication. That's it. No need to have a PhD in English, or no need to have very good communication skills, although we'll work on that. If you get into the main batch, we'll work on that. We have HR mock sessions. It is just that you have to get into the main batch and everything will be sorted. Don't worry. Can I watch previous pre-course lecture and give the test? And definitely, that is the reason we have it available on Discord. Just a second, if you guys want, I'll post the Discord link once again. If you want, you can join and you can ask your doubts there. I am present there. You can find me as Rudransh Acciojob. and I'll be more than happy to answer to your questions. Don't forget to message me on personal. Yeah, I'm posting the Discord link right away. Okay. Yes, you can become Python developer, Vidyasagar. There's absolutely no constraint like that. I mean, if you want, you can continue with Python as well. It is just that you have to be very good at DSA, and to be good at DSA, you need to learn it. That's a 6 months course. We teach you DSA, we teach you front end, back end. It can take up to 7-8 months to finish it off because we have flexible working hours with us. So if a student wants to go with his or her own pace, no problem, you can go. Is it really possible that we get placed? Yes, definitely, Drumil. One of our students, I think from last to last, I'll see. Gurpreet was there. Gurpreet got placed after the second month, only based upon DSA. Upfront is Vijay Bhan. Upfront is a payment method. There are two payment methods at Acciojob. One is pay after placement, and one is paying upfront. In pay after placement, you first study, then you get a job, then you pay us through EMIs in 1 year. In upfront option, you pay us the course fee first, and then you study. Both have EMI options. If you want to take upfront option as well, we have EMIs for that as well. So you can break the course fee, the entire course fee, which is around 70,000 plus GST. If you want, you can break it into 12 months EMI, 10 months EMI, 6 months EMI as well. Communication skills, everybody can improve their communication skills by practicing. Practice is the key. People, I tell it every time. If you want to improve your English, you have to, communicate in English as well with your parents, maybe with your friends if you want. Yes, definitely. BSc students are also eligible for placements. If you want, you can join the main batch. Upfront or pay after placement does not matter. If you are a pass out of 2018 or after, you are eligible for pay after placements. Anybody who wants to join upfront, we have no bar as such. Backlogs can also be managed. Don't worry. Yeah, definitely. 2023 pass outs can also join the course. They will be eligible for placements from November onwards, from September, October, November onwards, because in the last year, students get placed anywhere between from start. I mean, they start getting placed from November to anywhere between from November to April, May, June, July, and the placement goes on. Don't worry, you can join. No as such demand. No checks are demanded if you want to join up in the ISA form. 2020 2024 pass outs will be eligible to join the Acciojob in pay after placements after this year. I mean, from 2023 onwards. If you want, you can join upfront. If you want, more than welcome, and join upfront. Yes, exams for, yeah, this is the most popular question that I get. Exams for pay after placement. Why? See, if you want to join in pay after placement, we have to have some judging criteria of you. So I mean to say that if you're joining into pay after placements, we have to judge you on some parameters, right? If you are eligible, if you will be good enough to crack a company or not. No worries, guys. Everything in pay after placements and upfront is the same. In pay after placements, you first learn and then pay the course fee after getting into a job. In upfront option, you first pay, and although the course fees way too less in pay after placement. Sorry, in upfront if you want. I think Ritik has joined, and I will hand over him the session now. All the best, guys.
Okay, hello everyone. Welcome back to the next lesson. Lesson. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. So I guess a lot of people have joined today. So from yesterday. So yesterday we were discussing about the introduction to like programming, what programming actually is, what software engineering is in general, how your 6 months is going to look like, and how we basically why we have designed the course in such a way so that you get the entire idea of all the bits and pieces of software development. Okay. Okay. So how many of you are attending the session for the first time? How many of you were not there? Yes, no, yeah. I can get a rough idea. Yeah, because I see 400 people today. Yesterday they were around 250 to 300. Okay. Okay, so there are a lot of people. I'll quickly recap. So yesterday we did not start anything on coding. We did not do anything much on the coding front. We just learned something about basically what is. And those of you who attended yesterday's lesson, so that can be a good revision for you, right? Give me a second. Okay. So today we'll recap this and then we'll write our first piece of code. Okay, we'll start with our first piece of code today, and yeah, for the sake of this, we'll continue in Java. Let me quickly share my screen. So for those of you who attended yesterday's session, the only thing I wanted from all of you was patience, right? The only thing I requested for all of you to give me, since you're giving your time to me, so I am already grateful that you are attending the sessions live. And the second thing I want is to just be patient. Okay. So yeah, so the first thing we covered is why we learn software engineering, because it is something that is very interesting. बहुत interesting है. There is a very wide variety of scope of things that you can do in software engineering. So that makes it very interesting, right? You can design software. So there is a lot of job opportunities in this field, and you can earn a very good amount of salary doing this piece of job, right? So this makes the job interesting. Okay, and screen share. Okay, let me turn off the video. Yeah, I generally prefer turning off the video because that stops any disturbance from my side. You can like simply focus on the screen, so that works better for me. Okay, so in classes, actually, I do not share the video. Okay, okay. So yeah, why I wanted patience for you, because see, if I tell you to learn a new language altogether, let's say French or German, so you cannot do it in 5 days or a week. It needs time. For in order to learn, you can learn the alphabets in a day, but in order to practice that thing, right, in order to keep that thing like you want to get fluent in that language, it will require some of your practice as well. You need to communicate with other people, right? So I got a comment. My voice is clearly audible, right? Voice is clear. Everything is fine, right? Yeah, right? Yeah. So if there is any issues you are facing with voice or anything, please check the internet connection. I'm pretty much sure that it may not be at my end. Okay. Okay. So what I showing? Yeah. So if you want to learn anything and you want to be good at it, you need some much amount of patience in order to learn that in a very good flow. Right? If you want to learn German, you want to learn French, you need some patience to learn it. You should practice it. Then you will be okay, you can tell that okay, I know German, I know French, right? Because I learned it for 2 weeks or 2 months, and then I practiced it for 3-4 months or 5 months. So I am good at it now, right? So this is for that thing. I want your patience. So we did 4 or 5 years of our graduation. Right? We did so much amount of schooling, 12th and graduation. We spent almost 15-17 years of doing thing of learning the traditional of way of by schooling and doing degrees, right? And I, to be very honest, I did not learn much in my degree. What I use in my practical day-to-day life. I learned only 20 to 25% in my degree, and rest 80 to 90% of my learnings came outside from my degree, from self-learning, from exploring other things. Right now, it took me more time to learn because I was learning. I did not have any direction. So if you get the right direction, right? So you will be able to learn things very quickly. So yeah, right. So, and that is the direction that I'll try to provide you, or any instructor that takes up your classes, he'll try to provide you that how you should prepare yourself to be a good software engineer. So that's how we are organize the course. That we have 3 sections majorly. One is the data structures algorithm, then we have front end, and then we have back end. Okay. So what is now front end and what is back end? So I'll come to this 2 parts first, and then we'll come to data structure algorithm. So front end is anything that you see. If you type google.com, you see Google website. So that is the front end. If you type amazon.in, you see the Amazon's website. That is the front end. If you open any Android app, that is the front end. If you open any desktop app, iOS app, that is the front end. So whatever you see in your day-to-day life, right? So जो भी हम अपने डे टू डे लाइफ में देख रहे हैं, जो भी सिस्टम्स, जो भी सॉफ्टवेयर के साथ हम इंटरैक्ट कर रहे हैं अपने डे टू डे लाइफ में, right? Whatever we are interacting with in our day to day life, that all things are front end. So whatever we are interacting in our day to day life using the softwares, your Android app, your iOS app. Okay, I'm trying to be a little slow, and I'm trying to like have 99% of my content in English. I'll may somewhat use Hindi in between. Okay. So, tell me if anything is. I guess if everything is fine, right? I've increased the sound, everything. So let me do it too. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So whatever things we use in our day-to-day life, whatever things we interact, that is the front end. So now you know what all things categorizes in front end. Your Android app is a front end. Your iOS app is a front end. The websites that you open in your browser are front end. Okay. So this is what we see. Now let's take the example of very simple thing, Google search. So how do you search something on Google? You type google.com in your browser. You see the home page, and then you type something in the search bar, and then you hit the search button. Let's say you are trying to search for pictures of dogs, then you get the pictures of dog in response. Okay. Now, how this thing happened? How did you get the pictures of dog in response? So there was someone who tried to go to the entire internet and tried to find out, and this part is known as the backend. Okay. This piece of work, whatever this piece of work is happening, which does the actual work, is known as the backend. Let's say you placed an order in Amazon. Okay. And someone so this order went to some person who will actually dispatch the order, right? This when you placed the order on Amazon, this order went to someone, right? So this backend did the work, so passing your order from your app to someone else's app, right? So this is the piece of code that is doing the actual piece of work. When you type something on Google, some search happens, someone goes to the internet and tries to find out all the pictures of dogs, right? So that is the backend. Okay, so now we know what front end is. Now we know what back end is. Front end is basically whatever we see, whatever we interact with, we see in our day-to-day life, how we use the system. At the point from where we use the system, that is the front end. The point from where the work actually happens is the back end. Okay. So now these two pieces are clear. We know. So front end we see, so it is more clearer because we see the front end in our day-to-day life. We use it in our day-to-day life, so it is more clearer. The backend is, you can assume that this is like it is the machine which is doing the piece of work. This is the actual computer who is doing the piece of work. We don't know him, but he is a very important person who is doing all our work. Right? If I type something on Google, this is the person who will do the work. So this is the backend. Okay. Now, what is data structure and algorithm? So we understand what front end is. We understand what backend is. Again, now what is this thing and why this is at the start of our course? We can directly start with designing our apps, and we can directly start with so we can design the Google homepage, and then we can directly go to write the code for searching something on internet. Right? So front end we know back end, but why do we need this important piece of thing known as data structure and algorithm? Right? What is this? Okay, I'm trying to speak as slowly as we can. Okay, I'll even try to slow it down. Okay. Okay. Stop typing and try to look at this. I'll ask you questions and you can and you can type at that point of time. Firstly, try to listen what I'm trying to say, and then I'll take up your doubts. Okay. Okay. So understood front end, back end, right? So front end is the thing that we see. Back end is the person who is doing the piece of work. Okay. Now the second thing is, what is data structure and algorithm? Okay. Let me break it down into two parts. So first is algorithm. Okay. Algorithm kya hota hai? So algorithm is basically logic. What is the logic that is in the piece of work? So we have a greatest invention, that is the computer of the 21st century. That computer can do a lot of things. It can work for me, it can do a lot of work, and it can store a lot of data. Right? For example, computer can, if I tell something to the computer, I want to play a video, computer will do it for me. If I pass it two numbers and ask it to do the sum for me, it can do it for me. If I want to do any piece of work like watching a video, playing video game, it can do the work for me, right? It can do a lot of work at the same time, right? If I can want to run 5 or 10 different applications, it can run that same that the thing for me as well, right? If I want to run Google Chrome, the Zoom, and let's say Teams or some other application, a video streaming application, or the browser, so it can do all the piece of work for me, right? It can run a lot of applications at the same time. It can work for me, it can do a lot of work, and it can store a lot of it. I want to store videos, I want to store photos, I want to do store a lot of data, it can store it. I want to store download a lot of applications, it can do the work for me, right? But there is one problem. The computer is dumb. And I'll say, Ki, sir, are you crazy? Computers are so smart, computers are doing so much piece of work, and then we have machine learning and AI coming up, we have self-driving cars, but you're telling this computer to be dumb. Yes, computers are dumb, right? Why? Because I need to tell it what to do. It cannot do anything on its own. Okay, computer does not know anything to that it can do out of itself. Computer does not have the intuition or the intelligence that we have, right? So that's why I'm calling the computer as dumb, right? So that's why computers are dumb. Now, if I tell you to make a cup of tea, even though you have never prepared a cup of tea or coffee, okay, dumb means it does not know anything. It is stupid. So dumb means stupid. Computer is stupid. Okay. If I want to tell it, if I want the computer to do anything, I have to tell it step by step that how it needs to, the thing needs to be done. For example, if I tell you to make tea, so what you'll do, you'll add tea leaves, you'll add water, you'll add milk, you'll boil the thing, okay, and then at the end of that, you'll add sugar, right? So you know, okay, my tea is made, okay. But if I give, even if you do not know how to, so is this breaking? I have a very good mic. I'm seeing a lot of questions on the voice problem. Is it really happening? So, or yes, no. Okay, so I see a lot of no's, right? So there is no voice problem. I think there should be no problem because I was just teaching to another batch prior to you, and I was using the same setup. So I just switched to another Zoom call, and it should be completely fine. Okay. So please check your connection once, and if you are facing any voice flow issue, try to use any headphones that may sort that out. Okay. Okay. Okay, so let's come back to this. So if I tell you to make tea or coffee and you do not know, you have never ever stepped into the kitchen to make this thing, and I just tell you that these are the ingredients, okay, that you should use. Okay, for Hindi, I'll go with English for now. I'll use a mix of Hindi in between. थोड़ा सा मैं mix कर लूँगा, but I'll keep it slow. थोड़ा slow ही रहूँगा, but I'll try to use English more because a lot of people may not be very much comfortable in Hindi or even can understand any bit of it. Okay. So yeah, but don't worry, when you go to the actual batch, when you go to the class, that will get sorted out. So you want me to explain front end back end again? Okay, I'll come back to that thing. Let me complete this example. Okay. So if I tell you to make cup of tea, and if you have never ever gone to the kitchen and made a cup of tea, and I give you these are the ingredients to make the cup of tea, you will somehow figure out that, okay, these are the ingredients. I'll use this particular thing to use these ingredients to make the tea. I'll put leaves, I'll put water, I'll put milk, everything I'll boil, I'll add sugar. Even if you mix up one or two steps, it may work, right? You may put sugar beforehand and you can boil, that will also work, right? So you will somehow figure out how to make tea, but the computer cannot. The computer cannot do this thing. So the computer needs to know every step-by-step process of how the thing needs to be done. And we always need to tell the computer every step of if the computer has to do any work. For example, so this was a real life example, right? Now let's talk about an example in the computer terms. So if I give you these numbers and I tell you to sort them in the ascending order, so you'll say, okay, sir, this is a easy piece of work. I can sort 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? So this is a sorting. You can directly see and you can tell me that this is the sorting. But if I give the same piece of number to the computer and tell him to sort, computer will not be able to do. Why? Because computer does not know how to sort numbers. He has no logic. He doesn't even know what sorting is. Right. So I will have to tell him step by step. You know what? Compare these two numbers. So one is smaller. So you will put one in the start of the list. Right. So this is how you'll sort. So I will have to tell him every step of doing that piece of work. Okay. And then only the computer can do this work, otherwise it will not be able to. So this piece of this logic of telling the computer to do a piece of work step by step is known as algorithm. Okay. When we tell the computer that these are the works and these are the steps that you have to follow to do this piece of work, that step by step process is known as algorithm. Okay. So we tell the basically computer that this is the algorithm using which you can sort the number. Okay. We're telling the step by step process. So this is the part which is the second part of data structures and algorithm. So algorithm is basically telling the computer in step-by-step process of how it can do a piece of work. Okay. Now the first part is data structure. What is it? So data structure is basically in the computer times we are surrounded with data. Okay. So we read and write data. So we basically, if either whatever action you are performing, either you are reading data or you are writing data. For example, if you are streaming a YouTube video, you are reading data from somewhere, right? You are reading a video from which is somewhere in the internet and you are reading it into a machine, you are playing it. If you are downloading a file, you are reading a video, you are reading something. If you are sending message to someone, you are writing something, right? So every bit of thing is involved in read and write, and this involves data. Right? Either you're reading something or you're writing something. Now, if I tell you to organize data, let's say I give you 1 million students data and I tell you store this. So you'll not say, okay, I can simply create a text file and store it. And again, if I come up and tell you that, can you find a student with name Shantanu? Then you'll say, actually, I stored it in a text file. Give me 15 minutes. I'll try to look and then I'll share. Right? So it becomes problematic for you to search. Right? So if later I tell you to read some data from this, so it will become problematic. Okay? So you'll think of, I'll use Excel. I'll not use Word, I'll use Excel. So Excel, I can create rows, I can store 1 million students data. And then if I come up and tell you search this data, you'll go and search, right? And that makes your work easier. Now, why you switched from Word to Excel? Why did you not store the data in Word, and why you used Excel? Because it was easier for you to later search something or later add a new data or later do something, right? So, okay, firstly, please do not focus on the definitions. Definitions पे अभी मत focus करो कि what this definition is of this word. ठीक है, that you will gradually understand and you will be able to make out better definitions of this. ठीक है, what I'm trying to tell you now is explain you कि what these things are, why do we need these things. ठीक है. Okay, so you will choose Excel instead of Word or TXT, right? Because you want to organize data so that later you can search or do something in a faster way. Same way in our machine, in the computer, we are basically trying to read or write data, right? So we also need a lot of ways to read and write data so that our data will be in an organized format. So whenever we store data, we store them in an organized format which looks good, right? And later if we want to get some data back, if we want to do something, so it becomes easier for us. So this is the part which stores the data. So data structures are nothing but different ways of storing data so that we can later, if I want to sort this data, it will be easy for me. If I want to search a data in between it will be easy for me. So data structure is basically a way to store the data in an organized format. Okay, so we store this data in an organized format. Okay. So these are the parts that we learn. So these are the three parts that we are going to learn. So first we will learn data structures. What are the different ways to write this data, and what are the why we will write this data? Why we'll write in data in different ways, right? Because some writing the data some way may make it easier to sort. Writing the data in some way may make it easier to search, right? So that's why we'll write the data in different ways. Now, algorithm is basically telling the computer in a step-by-step format of what it needs to do in order to perform anything. You know, if we want to sort a list of numbers, how the computer can sort the list of numbers instead of us doing that piece of work. Okay. Now, what front end was? Front end was basically, so now we have front end, we have back end. Front end is all the apps that we use in our day-to-day life, all the apps, all the websites, all the desktop apps, whatever. The Zoom app that you are using to interact with me right now is the front end. The chat box that you are using to send messages to me is the front end. The screen that you are seeing where I'm explaining is the front end. Okay. Now, when I'm explaining the video is going from my machine to your app, that is the backend, which is doing a piece of work of sending the video from my machine to your Android app or your desktop app or your browser, right? So wherever you are logged in. So the sending of data from my machine to your machine, that is done by this backend. So this backend is the piece of code that does the work. Front end is the piece of code that we see from where we use the software. And this data structure algorithm is the logic of how we write this front end and backend. So in order to write code in this front end and backend, which will do this work, using which you will interact with me or the system, and the code that will do the work will be by after understanding of these data structure. We'll know how to tell a machine to do a piece of work, and we'll know how to store the data in different ways. Okay, and that's why we have this thing divided in this order, which will take you 6 months to learn these things entirely. And I can guarantee if you follow this 6 months to 7 months process, you will be very good at software development for sure. Okay. Okay. So next part is key. Okay, so we understood this. Okay, we know. Clear to everyone all the three parts. Quick yes or no. What was the difference between data structure and algorithm? Algorithm is the way of telling the computer to do a piece of work. Let's say making tea. You know, the step-by-step process of how to make tea is algorithm, and the way to store different type of data in an organized format is data structure. So data structure is different structures of storing data. Okay, different ways of storing the data so that we can later read this data and like perform any action. Okay. So there is a mute chat option. So if you want to disable the chat, you can disable for yourself. I need the chat because I want to know like whether there is any issue or something. Yeah. So can we say algorithm is logic? Yes, we can say algorithm is the logic which we tell the computer to undo. Okay. So algorithm is basically the logic. Okay. Don't get confused. इसमें अभी confusion मत रखो कि data structure क्या है, algorithm क्या है. When we write code, we'll have. I can guarantee you'll have the 100% clarity कि data structure क्या होता है, algorithm क्या होता है. ठीक है. Okay. What is backend? Backend is the piece of code that is doing the work. If you type something on Google search and you hit the search button, you get pictures of dogs. Let's say you type pictures of dogs and you're getting pictures of dogs. But who is doing this piece of work? Who is trying to go to the entire internet and find out all the pictures of dogs in the internet and give you? So that is the backend, who is doing the actual piece of work. Those were not present in my machine, right? So I only had that Google browser UI, right, where I'm seeing this website, where Google homepage. But someone is searching for me. That is the backend, which is actually doing the piece of work. Okay. Yeah, so you'll get the notes, you'll get the recorded sessions, and you'll have the doubt clearing sessions. Everything you'll get. Okay. How can we improve our logic? So how can we improve our English? So we'll keep practicing. We'll improve our English. How can we improve our let's say I tell you to learn a French. So how will you learn French and how will you improve it? So for learning French, you'll try to read books or you'll join a class, and then you will try to practice it. So the first you will learn and then you'll practice, that will improve. So first we will learn concepts and then we'll practice. So that will improve our logic as well on programming. Okay. Let's move to the next part. Okay, I'll take next more 10 minutes to cover up what we did yesterday. Then we can start from program. Okay. So the next thing that we learned, that we all we heard so many things about languages. Right? You already would have heard that what software developers do, they write code in languages, different languages. You might have even heard of a few languages names like Java, JavaScript, C++, Python. Right? So these are the very common famous languages that everyone uses. Right? But why do we need a language? Language ka use kya? Why do we need a language in order to do some piece of work? So basically, our computer is designed. So we have a computer, right? So the computer runs on power. So since it runs on power, the computer can understand only two things, either 0 or 1. Now, what is 0? 0 is basically low voltage. You can assume it is a low voltage, let's say -5 volt. And 1 is, let's say, high voltage +5 volt. Okay. So in terms of, so since computer is running on power, it is basically it is basically only knowing two things, 0 and 1. Okay. So anything that we want to tell to the computer or any data that we want to store in the computer has to be in this 0 1 form. Let's say you only understand a language, let's say English. Okay. If I want to communicate with you, I'll need to tell in English, right? If I tell in Hindi, if I tell in Telugu, if I tell in Odia, you will not be able to understand, right? Because you do not know that language, right? So same way, if the computer only understands zeros and ones, if I try to tell it to do a piece of work in some other language, it will not understand. So when we designed the very first computer, we used to tell him in the form of 0 and 1. So whatever we want to tell him, let's say I want to give him two numbers and want to tell him perform the addition. So I will tell him in this form of 0 and 1. So I'll tell him in 0 and 1. Now, does this make any sense to you? No. If I tell you to do this piece of work, you'll say, so you know what? Let me get a sales job, or let me do journalism. I like that much, that very good, right? I don't want to learn programming. This is very tedious job. I want to tell something to this machine. I have to write in 0 and 1. What is this, right? So you'll say, let me change the profession. I don't want to do this. So that's why the very first computer we designed was of 3 or 4 big rooms, right? It occupied that much large size. And the person who was doing this, he was he was a very patientful person. He used to tell them in zeros and ones, right? Computer used to understand, okay, and computer used to do the work, okay. Then someone saw that, okay, this is not good, right? I cannot do this piece of work. Let me do something. So he came up with a language known as assembly level language, right? Assembly language. Okay, and he told that, you know what, we need to do a lot of operations every time. We want to add, we want to subtract, we want to multiply, we want to divide. So instead of every time telling the machine to do this work and writing that, please do this work, I'll make small instruction. I'll tell the machine add, and then I'll give him two numbers in zeros and ones format. The machine will know that he has to add, and he will add these two numbers and give the final number to me. Okay. So this was unique and this was new, right? So everybody got curious. Okay, we can tell the machines in the language that we understand. We are telling him to add, machine is understanding, and machine is doing the piece of work. And add is nothing but whatever we were telling in the form of zeros and ones. Someone wrote this that we can just tell him add, and he will this add will know, machine will know that he has to add these two numbers. Okay. Same way, he designed a few small operations like add, subtract, multiply, divide, and all those things. And later he made a small calculator, and he sold to every person that, you know what, this is a calculator. Yeah, you can just press the add button and you can give two numbers. The machine will add those two numbers and give you. Now earlier, in order to add two numbers, it took time. Now it became faster. Right? So everyone is interested that this is something which may work. Right? This was something which was not going to work, because no one is going to come and tell this machine in form of zeros and ones, but we can tell him small things and we can give him numbers so he can do the piece of work. So this went interesting. And from here, we started to develop languages using which we can talk to the machine, right? And that's how we developed so many languages. right? When we started to communicate, we developed so many languages: English, Hindi, Telugu, French, German, right? Thousands of languages that exist, right? I cannot even name them out, right? So same way, different languages came up of how we can tell this machine of what to do, right? So one of the very starting languages that we use till date is C. The upgraded version of it is C++. Then came a language Java, which became very popular, right? And which we use till date. And then came the language. Okay, just a second. Okay, and then came the language JavaScript. Okay, so this is one of the very famous language that we use today, and I call it the God language because it can literally do anything. You can make Android apps, you can make iOS apps, you can make websites, you can make the backend system of any application or any site using this language, right? So that's how important JavaScript has become in day-to-day life. Right now, you are watching this Zoom, so most likely Zoom's code is also written in JavaScript. Okay, the browsers that you see, so the websites that you use, all the websites are written in JavaScript. Okay, and then there is a language Python, which is also popular, which is used for things like machine learning. And someone yesterday asked, what is machine learning and AI? So machine learning in AI is the future, but it is not the present. Okay, okay. C has is also a language that is used for developing desktop apps. Okay. There is nothing common between Java and JavaScript. Okay, this is one myth that I can bust right now. Java and JavaScript are two completely different languages. Okay, and how different it is, I can tell you. Okay, you can consider Java is English. Okay, and let's say I can talk about JavaScript as Hindi. Okay, so do you find any similarity between English and Hindi? Very least, or to no similarity. That's how different these two languages are. Okay, so there is nothing same in these two languages. So completely two different languages in that sense. Okay. So yeah, since JavaScript starts with Java, it has nothing to do with Java. Okay. Okay. Machine learning and AI, this is the future, but it is not the present. It is the future. Okay. So you are in present. You want the job in present. You don't want the job in future. You want the job right now. Right. You want to learn something which will give you job right away, not 5 or 10 years down the line. So that's why I advocate for software. So if I compare the real time current data, so 95% of the engineers do development, software development, and then 5% of the engineers are involved in machine learning and AI. Okay. So what is these two things? I'll just give you a small idea. I'll not waste your time because we are not going to learn this thing. So artificial intelligence is basically any intelligence that you can create. So our intelligence is natural intelligence, right? We got it from our birth. So any intelligence, if I want to create a similar intelligence that I want to make the machine intelligent, he can do. If I give him the ingredients, he can make a cup of tea, like how we can do by our intuition. So that is artificial intelligence. To develop that intuition in the machine. If I give you the ingredients of let's say cooking rice curry, okay, and you have never ever cooked rice curry, you have never ever entered in the kitchen, and you will somehow figure out how to cook. Okay, machine will not be able. Now, what is machine learning? Basically, machine can learn itself. So I drive my car every day from my home to my office. Okay? But my car does not learn anything. Right? I've been doing it for 2-3 years, but my car does not learn anything. He's done. So he goes the same way from my home to from my machine. He knows the path as well, but it will not be able to drive itself. Right? So if the machine can learn on the actions that I'm performing by seeing me or by observing me, that is machine learning. Right? If the car drives every day with me from my home to my office, it should know that this is the path, this is the traffic, this is the way, and it should learn by itself. And that is the thing known as machine learning. If the machine start to learn itself, if the machine does a piece of work and it can learn from the actions itself, that is known as machine. Okay. And this data is like incorrect. To be honest, it says 98% of jobs, and this is not even 2% of the jobs. Okay, in software development. Okay. So this was it that we discussed yesterday, which gave us an idea of software development, languages, all the things. And okay, one thing that I forgot to mention, that these languages are known as high-level language. Okay, why high-level language? Because high level language because these languages are very much closer to English, right? So the language that we use in our day-to-day communication, these languages are very much closer to English. So uh, uh, these are known as high level language. That's okay. What is assembler, what is compiler, what is interpreter, I'll come to that. Okay. Okay. Everything, everyone clear on this part? So it took me 30 minutes to recap, but yeah, you got a good recap. For those of you are near, who are new, you got the idea, right, of what we discussed yesterday. Clear? Yes. Okay. So let's move to the next. Before I go to the next part, let's make the class a little bit interesting. Okay. Let me try to show you very recent language that came into existence, and this is known as Thailand. Okay. And this is one of very recent developments of language. So this is a language in itself. Like I talked about high level languages, C, C++, Java. Right. So this is a language in itself built using JavaScript. Okay. And this now you can interpret of what this language is doing. Okay. So this language, this is a piece of code that is actual code, and you can run this language as well. You can go to this compiler, you can run this code, and it will do this work. So this is a language we can understand. So this is an example of code that we are going to write. Okay. This is the example of code how we write code. So we tell the machine that we want to say you hello world, right? So we are telling him hi whole hi hello world. So this will display hello world. The machine is saying to us hello world, right? We want to store something, then we are telling him bhai ye hai a equals to 3, which means store a number 3 in the variable a, right? We created a name which is a, and this will store the number 3. We created a name which is b, which will store the number 0. Okay. Same if we want to do anything again and again, we are telling compare these two number. Agar bhai, if a is equal to b, tell a is equal to b, b is equal to a. Otherwise, tell b is equal to c. Otherwise, check b is equal to 0. Right? So this is a language that we can see right away and understand. This is a practical language, right? So no company uses it right now. Okay. So everybody uses JavaScript, but yeah, there may be startup who may come up with by using this Thailand. Okay. Yeah, so this is somewhat interesting. This will give you interest. Or this is how simple your code is going to be. Okay. So now you can understand from this of what is happening inside this language. The main idea of who developed this language was basically to give the idea that coding is easy, right? Only thing is, right, everything that you see over here is actual code. Only thing that you have to remove whatever is written in this pink text. That is, instead of that, we'll write something else. Okay. Instead of that, we'll write something else, and everything is actual piece of code that can do actual work. So here, if this piece of code is checking whether two numbers are equal or not. Okay. If they are equal, it is telling me that they are equal. Otherwise, it is telling me they are not. Or something. And yeah, so we are going to write code which can do this piece of code. We'll start very slow. Okay, हम बहुत slow start करेंगे. And let me just take 10 minutes of your time for today. Okay, to discuss some theory in code. I know you are very eager to jump on code, but before jumping to code, I want to take 10 minutes to explain some theory of how any language works. Okay, so we write code in high level language. Okay. Okay. The machine understands something known as 0 and 1, right? And this is known as low level language. Machine language is known as low level language, or this is also known as machine. Okay, this is known as low level. Simple term. Our language that we use, C, C++, Java, JavaScript, whatever language we know, use, that is high level language. Whatever language the machine understands is low level language. Okay. Now, there is a difference between our language and the machine's language. Now, how will we solve this difference? This difference, how does this difference get solved? So, let's say we are writing code in Java. So, there has to be someone in between to convert this code into whatever machine can understand, if that is 0 and 1. Right? So, we write code in Java, which is our language. We'll use English words to write the code. will use our terms that we know, right? Right example, hello world, right? That is, we want to tell the word hello world, so we'll write hello world. We want to store a number, so we'll give it a name, right? So that is all our words, but the computer only understands zeros and ones. So there has to be someone who will convert this code into this code, basically a high level language that we are telling. So let's say call this as the translator or interpreter, right? Let's say I'm communicating in English and you understand Hindi. So there has to be a middle person who will convert my sentences into Hindi so that you can be able to understand, right? So this is the piece of work. This is the piece of software. Just a second. Okay, sorry for that. Yeah. So this is the piece of machine that does the work, right? This okay piece. It is not piece. I'm talking about this piece of software. Okay. There is a piece of language that does this work. That whenever you write the code in a high level language, that converts it into low level language. And then depending on the language, there are different methods that each language used to convert high level to low level, right? Now each language, this is the very important. Okay. So now that's why you hear all these different terms. Each language has its own way to convert, okay, from high level language to low level language. Okay. So we write code in high level language, it has to be converted into low level language. So each language has its own method of this conversion. Okay. Let me talk about a few and then you may get the idea of what happens. Okay. So let's say I'm writing the code in C++. Okay. So C++ has its own compiler. We call this piece of software which does this work as compiler. The piece of software that does this work of converting C++ into zeros and ones is known as compiler. Same way, Python has a piece of code which is known as interpreter, which does this work, which converts this Python code into 0 and 1. Okay. JavaScript has interpreter. JavaScript has a piece of software which is known as interpreter, which does this piece of work. Okay. So now you can see every language has its own piece of software which does this piece of work, right? Same way, we'll be learning Java. Since Java is a special child, Java was developed in 1995 and it was one of the very advanced language that existed at that point of time. And till now, even Java is one of the most advanced languages that exist. Okay. Because of one thing, because if you write code in Java in any machine, it can run on any machine on the because of its unique way to translate this into 0 and 1. Okay. So Java, what it does, it uses a compiler to convert this code into something known as Java bytecode, JBC. And then it uses an interpreter. So it has a second piece of software which does this conversion from JBC to 0 and 1. And this is known as Java bytecode. And this is one of the advanced way to convert from any high level language to a low level language. And what is JVM? This interpreter's name is JVM. Okay. It is known as Java Virtual Machine. Java Virtual Machine. This interpreter का नाम है, ठीक है? So the name of this interpreter is Java Virtual Machine. ठीक है? And the compiler's name is Java Compiler. It does not have a unique name. The name is Java Compiler. It converts it into code known as Java bytecode, which again uses an interpreter, which uska naam is Java Virtual Machine, which is known as Java Virtual Machine, which converts it into zeros and ones. Okay. This is some idea. So basically, we'll learn this entire process conversion. That is not a very important part for us right now. Okay, if you are seeing this, okay, this is very complicated thing that I'm trying to explain. Just don't like try to okay, so I'll try to use less simply. Okay. I just don't try to understand how this conversion works. Okay. you will gradually automatically understand that there is someone who is converting. The major point of telling me this is the question is we are writing code in high level. The machine still understands zeros and ones, right? Machine has not advanced. The machine, the first computer that was developed, understood only 0 and 1. The computer that we use till date only understands only 0 and 1. Okay, but we are writing code in some other language. So how does this work? There is a middle there is a translator, and depending on the language, we have a different names to this translator. Okay. In C++, it is known as compiler. In Python, it is known as interpreter. In JavaScript, it is known as interpreter. In Java, we have a different way. We have a compiler and an interpreter as well, which does this work. Right? So depending on language, this may differ of how this conversion works. Right? Converting from French to English is different. Converting from French to German is different. Converting from Hindi to Telugu is different. Converting from Tamil to Bengali is different. Right? So same way, you can assume that each language conversion from one language to the zeros and ones is different. Okay. It's not working. Is the screen not working? Audio not working? Working, right? Okay. Okay. So this was entire theory that I wanted to tell you today. Okay, let's write our first piece of code that may make it interesting for you. Okay. Okay. There may be some issues with Zoom as well because there are 400 students, so the Zoom might be slow or somewhat may happen, right? Okay. Got the idea? So we are writing code in a language which is known as high-level language. So all the languages that we hear is high-level language. All the language to which will translate at the end is known as low-level language. Okay? We have a high-level language, we have a low-level language, and our goal is we'll write the code in high-level language. The machine understands low-level language. So whatever we write gets converted into this low-level language and the machine. And this piece of software, it does this piece of work, has different names based on the different languages that we use. Okay. Now someone talked about assembler. Now can you take a guess assembler? Which language translator would have been named assembler? We talked about a language, and its translator is known as assembler. Can you take a guess which language I'm talking about? So there is a language whose translator is known as assembler. Yes, assembly level language, right? No, so for assembly level language, it is specifically referred as assembler. Okay. For those of you, the screen is totally black. Please try to quit Zoom completely and try to reset. Okay. Okay. So yesterday also I had a question so in chat today as well that okay, a lot of companies use JavaScript and why we are learning Java. So I initially wrote somewhere here as well that JavaScript is one of the god languages, right? And why we are learning code in Java? Why will we learn code in Java? Right? What is why is Java still so important? Because JavaScript is good to develop softwares. Okay, you will be developing softwares in a day-to-day job using JavaScript for like 90 or 95% chance that you will be developing software using JavaScript. But still, there are a lot of softwares which are based on Java because Java is older than JavaScript, that way older than JavaScript, 20, 30 years older. So Java is used in a lot of places. There are a lot of software which are developed on top of Java. Now there are new features that these softwares also want to add. So that is one thing, that there is a lot of code that is already present that is written in Java. And then there has to be someone who needs to add new features into these software that cannot be recreated into JavaScript. Okay, this is one thing. Second thing is we want to learn data structure and algorithm first before moving to actual development. Before we develop software, we want to know about writing code, right, into data structure and algorithm. And it is way easier to understand this data structure algorithms in Java than in Java. Okay, because it is like it is very close to this data structures and algorithm, to be honest, in Java. Okay, so that's why we'll use Java to learn data structure and algorithm, and later we'll gradually learn JavaScript and we will develop front end and back end application. Okay. Okay. What is the difference between compiler and interpreter? अभी के लिए there is assume कि both are doing the same piece of work, that is different ways of doing the same work. ठीक है? So there is some difference. I don't want to confuse you now because we have not seen code. So assume that those are doing the same piece of work but different way of doing the work. Okay. Clear to all? Can we move to code? Yes. No. Guys saw 40 students. Yeah. What is Java bytecode? Okay. So Java bytecode is, you can understand that Java does not directly convert this language from whatever we write to 0 and 1. It tells that, okay, I will convert it to Java bytecode. That is my language. I understand, and then I'll convert it to Java bytecode, and then I'll convert it to 0 and 1. It will convert then this Java bytecode into 0 and 1. Okay. Compiler interpreter coming back and we'll never need to design this compiler interpreter. Languages provide. Okay. Okay. So let's come to here. The first piece of code. Okay. These are the first lines of code that we are seeing. Let me remove everything. So this is the code. So this is the first lines of code that we are seeing. So for now, I'll say don't look in these two pieces of code, these two lines of code. Okay, ignore these two lines of code for now. Okay, just for timing, just ignore it, and then we'll try to understand of what this is. Okay, just try to ignore this part for now. Okay, we'll come back to this later. Okay, only piece of place where I'm interested in, only piece of code that I'm interested in right now is this middle part. Okay. So I'm interested in only this part of code. So if I want to tell something, so how we write code, how we start writing code. So we will assume that there is nothing in between my and the machine. Okay, if I want to tell something to the machine, I'll be having this black screen using which I can tell to the machine. If the machine wants to tell me something, he will tell me using this black screen. Okay, and we call this black screen as console. Okay, so this black screen that we'll be using to tell something to the machine or the machine will be using to tell something to me is known as console. Okay. So we'll start by telling something to the machine using this black screen. And if the machine wants to tell me something, he will also use this black screen to tell me. Okay. So let me write this here. So this is console. Okay. So what I am telling here to the machine, I am telling here to the machine that display this. Just tell me hello. I am telling the machine to tell me hello. So how am I telling? I am telling it by writing something system.out.println. इसका मतलब क्या होता है? What does this mean? I am simply telling this machine to just print hello world. If I want to tell this machine to print something else, so I'll tell this machine, you know what? Go and print something else, and I'll tell this. Okay, let me clear out these things. Now, what is console? Console is this black screen using which I will tell something to the machine, or if the machine wants to tell something to me, the machine will use the same black screen. If I want to tell the machine to, let's say, tell me hello Ritik, I'll tell it, tell me hello Ritik. Okay, and the machine will tell me hello Ritik using this console. And this, the machine will tell me hello Ritik. It told me hello world, and then it told me hello. So whatever I write inside this, the machine will tell. Okay. And this is the very first program that we learn, hello world. Okay. Now what is this thing? What is this part and what is this? So whatever we write in between these strings, whatever we write inside here, inside this round bracket in between these two codes, that will get displayed in this console. So whatever we write inside here, so that get displayed in the console. If I want to tell machine to tell something, I'll just write it inside this string, and the machine will tell, just display. Okay? And then I'll see. Okay? When I run the program. How to run this? You can simply press on the run button here. It will run. Okay, you can go to this site if you want to try this out, onlinegdb.com. Okay, there will be bunch of other such sites which will provide this UI, which will provide this place where you can run the code. Okay. Okay. Now, what is this? You can for now will assume that this is one standard way of telling the machine to display something in the console by telling system.out.println machine is basically trying to tell me something if ever I want to tell. Okay. What is this semicolon? So in the language of programming, there is no full stop. If I want to tell the machine that stop here, that this is the end of the line, I will tell it semicolon. Okay. So semicolon is used as, so you can use it as, we call it as terminator, or you can assume it as end of line. Okay. So basically semicolon, when we write semicolon, we basically mean we are ending the line, similar to how we write full stop in here. Okay. For now, if you are getting doubts in these two parts, these two lines of code, ignore it. Okay. We'll assume that these are the two lines of code that will always have. Okay. These are the two lines of code: public class main, public static void main, string, brackets, args, right? And then two curly brackets. So this is the part that will always write. The only place I'm interested in right now is in between these two curly brackets. If I want to write something, if I want to run something, I'll run in between these two things. I'll explain later why this, what we write these two lines of code, what does it mean, what the string tasks it. We'll come to that. Okay. We'll come to that. I'm not ignoring this completely right now. We'll come back to this. But let's try to firstly understand this part of code where we'll write our code. Let's try to understand some code. Okay. What is system.out.println? So this is a question. So system.out.println is basically if I want to tell the machine to display something, I'll write it inside this. Okay. So I'll write, if I want to tell the machine to display something, I'll write system.out.println. I'll do two round brackets, and inside this, inside two double quotes, whatever I want to tell to the machine, I'll tell it. So I'll tell it hello to the very first class, right? And then end this line by giving a semicolon. Okay. We'll run this, and then it will show me this hello to the very first class. If I want to remove something, I can simply. Okay. There is one thing that I used. Whatever I write after two slashes, that will not run. Okay. So these are known as comments. This will not run. Any line of code that I write after two slashes, those are known as comments. This line of code does not run. Compiler or Java ka jo bhi compiler, whatever compiler Java has. So this will not run this line of code. Any line of code that is starting with two slashes, that line of code will not run. Okay. So if I have to write something, like that I don't want to run, I can simply add two slashes at the start of it, and it will not run. For example, now I am seeing three lines as output: hello world, hello Ritik, and hello to the very first class. Okay. If I write slashes in front of this line of code will not run. If I run this code now, you'll see that I'm getting hello world and I'm getting this. Okay. So if I write some line of code and I don't want to run it, if I want to add something that I don't want to run, I'll simply write two slashes. Okay. What is the use of this? Why do we write? Because I wrote some code. Now you don't want to read so much long code, and you want to know what this code is doing. So simply I will write at the start of it that this code is displaying something. Okay. This code is telling hello to all. Okay. So this code is telling hello to everyone. So that I wrote over here. Now, instead of you looking at this code, you can directly say, okay, this code is telling hello. Right now, it may seem ki, okay, you are just telling hello, but assume ki this was 1,000 line of code. So my one comment saved your time in reading this 1,000 line, but I actually know that what this piece of code is doing. Right? So when we will have long codes, we just add comments so that other person who is reading this code, he will be able to understand what this code is doing. Okay. Simple. So if you want to display something, just system.out.println, inside two double quotes, write whatever you want to display. The computer will display that and it will tell you this. Okay? In this console. Okay? Computer will tell this in its console. Okay? Understood? So first point I want to understand is system.out.println. Everyone, yes, quick yes or no, you understood system.out.println? Yes. If you want the computer to show you something, you know how. Yeah. One more. Yes. So basically, whatever you want the computer to show you, that you can write it inside the system.out.println. Inside this double quote, and the computer will say, right? You just need to say, change this string and the computer will tell you that particular text. You just need to change this text and computer will tell you that. Okay, inside this console. Okay. What is this semicolon? Semicolon simply means end of line. Okay. Now there is one interesting thing of program. Since you have told the end of line over here, can I write these 3 lines of code instead of writing in 3 separate lines? Can I write this one after another? How will it work? So it will work the same way. Even if you write the entire code in one single line, or you write it in 10 different lines, or you provide spaces in between these lines. Okay. So no matter however way you are writing this, uh, it will give you the same result. Okay. You'll see it will give you the same result. It does not matter if I add a space over here. So it does not matter that, or even if I move every line of code into a single line. Okay. Because the end of line is determined by this semicolon. Okay. So this semicolon determines the end of the line. Okay. At this system.out.println is ending here. Okay. And whatever we want next to write, we can write it over here. Similar to println, there is one more function. Okay. So println, what is the meaning of println? What does println mean? So println means that print this string and then move to the next line. If there is anything else you have to print, go to the next line and then print it. But if you want to print all the strings in the same line, instead of having println, you can write it as print. Okay. So what this will do, this will print all the strings in the same line. You can see all the strings are getting printed one after another in the same line. Okay. So if you want to print everything in the same line, you can, instead of using println, you can use print. Okay. So let's say I want to display hello world and hello Ritik, and then I want to change the line. Sorry, and then I want to display print the last line. So I can write a println over here, and I can run. What this will do, this will display the hello world in the first line. Hello Ritik just after it, and then it will change the line. So after printing this, it changes the line. So this is important. Okay, but the difference between print and println, in the println, after printing the same thing, it will change the line. What will happen if you write something before slash slash? So it will work as expected. Let's say I write this hello world right before this line. Okay. So this will run. And as soon as it got this 2 slashes, it will know that, okay, this is a comment. I will not run this. I'll run this. It will run this thing. Yeah. You see hello world 2 times, hello world, and then hello Ritik, and then the line got changed, and then this. In the println, one thing to notice, after displaying this, it changes the line, not before. Okay. So after displaying this, it changes the line. So it displays hello Ritik, and then it changes the line. Okay. And one more thing, if you have print, there is no more space at the end of it, right? So just write where this string ends, the next string starts there itself. Okay, next string the next string just starts there itself. It does not add a space or something at the end of this display. Okay, so these are few small things that you can play around with in this print and print. Okay. So basically, we have 2 functions to do the work. One which displays the string and does not change the line. One which displays the string and changes the line. Okay. Clear to all last time? Any more doubts on this? Can we move to the next thing? Okay, so you always get errors in line 1 and 3. Line 1 and line 3. Okay, you can copy paste these 2 exact lines that are written over here. Okay, just try to note it down and write it. You will not get errors, and add to these 2 curly braces at the end of your file. Okay, so at the end of this particular thing, okay? And write your code in between. You should not get errors, or use this compiler for now. I'll explain this, what is this and what this is doing. I'm not explaining it right now, just to don't confuse you with all the different things. Okay. Okay. So only okay, to revise. So the code can work in a single line as well, and you can write it in different lines as well, and you can provide spaces. Okay. So if the code is working in single line, why are we writing in different lines? Okay. Now tell me, is it easier for you to read this thing, or was it easier previously? It was easier when I wrote it this way, right? So we write the code in different lines in order for if someone is reading, or I myself am reading this code again, I should be able to read. I am a human, right? Machine can read. Machine does not know any logic. If I tell him read this, he will read this, right? But I am a human. If someone is written in a well-structured way, so it makes easier for me to read that, right? So that's why we write codes in separate lines by providing proper indentation and spacing, so that it makes our life easier to read this. And let me break this function down. So this function is a three-part function. So system means basically what this console. Okay. System means basically this console. So when I write system.out, I simply mean do the output in this console. Out means I want to send something to the console. मुझे console में कुछ चाहिए which will be get displayed. I want something in the console to be displayed to me. ठीक है? So that's why I'm writing out. ठीक है? And print is basically print this string. What is the output that I want? I want this string to be printed. So that is a three-part explanation for this. System is this console. Out is this I want something to be displayed, and print is this particular string which I want to display. Okay. I'll explain इसको मैं explain करूँगा. Right. Why we write import of Java, right? Okay. Now there is one before I proceed further. So how will we know these names of these functions which we will use to do this piece of work? So basically the language provides very small set of functions that you can use to do the piece of work. Rest all logic that you will need to do the piece of work, we'll write it ourselves. Okay. So this is one such function that the language provides, using which we are telling it, right? So initially I explained what are the use of these languages, why we need a language, why can't we directly talk to the machine? Because the machine only understands in the form of 0 and 1, and we cannot write everything in form of 0 and 1. So we came to know that we can write small things like addition, subtraction that the machine can understand, that will tell that machine to perform addition, subtraction, and will pass these numbers to do the work. Same way, the language is providing us different functions. So initially we had only these functions of addition, subtraction. Now these languages, high level language, provide us a lot of functions that we can use to interact with the machine. If I want the machine to tell the machine to display something, it can do. I want to pass it a string to display, I can pass it as English string. The machine will understand the English string and display it. Right? So the machine does not understand still. The language will convert it to the form which machine understands, and machine will display it. Right? So this is a piece of work that this language is doing. It is providing us the words that we know. We know these three words, system.out.print. These are three words that we can remember. Okay. And it is providing me a way of how we can tell, and I can remember this way of telling something to the machine. Okay. Clear? So basically we have small functions in the language using which I tell the machine to do this work, and the machine does the work. Okay. Let me do something that will make some sense, right? This may be like something, okay, machine is just displaying me, but what is of any use of this to us? Let me write some code that may be useful to us, right? Okay. So let's say the next concept is variables. Okay. What are variables? So how I can call you? I call you by a name, right? You have a name of how I can call you, right? So if I want to call you, I'll use your name to call you. If I want to refer you somewhere, so I'll use your name, right, in order to refer. Same way in the code, if I want to store any number or any character or any person's name or any text, so I will need to create a variable, okay, in order to store that data. So let's say I want to store a number, so I can simply store it as int a equals to 10. So basically, I am giving a name to this number, which is a, and if I want to refer to it somewhere, I'll use this number. Now, what is this int? Right? I know that, okay, we know that A is the name of this number. If I want to refer to 10 somewhere, I'll use this name A. Instead of this number, I'll use the name A. Okay. Now, what is this N? So basically, we have to tell to the language that what type of this variable is. What is the type of this variable? Okay. Basically, this variable is going to store a number, it is going to store a character, or it is going to store a text, or it is going to store something else. So whatever it is going to store, I have to tell that to the language that this variable is going to store a number. This variable is going to store a character. If I want to store a character, I'll simply say char. I'll give it a name, let's say C. And if I want to store a character, let's say A. So I'll simply store this character. If I want to store a decimal number, I can use the name float. And let's say I want to store it in a variable, and I can store a number like 10.45. So basically, every time we want to store something, we want to give some name to something, we can use variables. Okay. And we need to specify something known as data types. Okay. What is variable? Variable is this names that we are giving to these numbers or characters. Okay, whatever names we are giving to these numbers and characters are known as variables. Okay, these names are known as variables. And this thing where we are specifying of what type of data this name is going to store, whether it is going to store an integer, whether it is going to store a character, or whether it is going to store a decimal number, is known as data type. Okay. Okay. I'll explain again. Here we'll take 10-20 minutes and we'll understand what variable and data type is. Next thing is data type. So every language has a set of data types that it supports. Okay, every language knows what are the data types that I'm going to support. So Java allows us to store integers. It allows us to store characters. It allows us to store decimal numbers by float. It allows us to store larger decimal number in form of double. Okay. Okay. For now, let's stick to this. Okay. So we have two parts. Firstly, we have data types, which basically tell us what type of data I want to store. Okay. The second is variables. Variable is the name of the data that I'm going to store. Let's say I want to store number 10, right? But there may be thousands of number 10 stored in the memory. That memory mein to kahin ko, like wherever the machine is storing. If I want to refer to this, how will I refer? I will refer it using this name. Right? If I somewhere want to call this, I will refer it using this name. If I want to call you, I call you by your name, right? Same way, if I want to call this variable, I will call it using the name. Okay. So data type is basically the type of data that this variable is going to store. Say if this variable is going to store an integer number, I'll tell it as int. If this variable is going to store a character, I'll tell it as char. If this variable is going to store a decimal number, I'll call it float or double. Okay. Why did I not mention? Okay, this is a good question. So we can even mention this as 10.45f. Okay, this also work, or we can simply mention it as 10.45. Why did I not mention it? Because if I have already specified that this is a float number. Okay? And Java is this much smart that it can understand that this is a float number. Okay, and it will store it as a float. If I want to manually specify that this is a float number, I'll write this. But Java understands this. This is a decimal number and it is storing it in float. Okay. What is double? Double also stores this float numbers. Double also stores this decimal number. Now, what is the difference between float and double? So for simplicity, we can understand float can store smaller decimal numbers. Right? It can store छोटे वाले decimal numbers को store कर सकते हैं. It can store small decimal numbers. Double can store larger decimal numbers. Okay? The difference is in the size. So float can store smaller decimal numbers. Double can store larger decimal numbers. Okay, so that is the only difference between float and double. Okay. Okay, before I proceed, anyone doubts on data types and variables? So data type is basically the type of how our data is going to look like, and variable is the name of our data. So whatever data we are storing, we give it a name, right? We give it a name that this is your name, right? If I want to store anything, I give it a name, and this is how I'll refer it in future. If I want to make any change to this 10, I want to change it to 11, I'll use this name and change it to 11. Okay. How many data types are there in Java? So these are the most common ones. There are a few more. So there is one more data type which is known as boolean, and then there is one more which is known as string. So these are the most common ones. So boolean is a special data type. Okay, so it can store only two values. So this is a data type which can store only two values, either true or false. Okay, so it stores only two values, either true or false. Okay, basically you can assume it stores yes or no. Okay, so this is a special type of data. String is simple. String is something which we understand. String stores any text. Okay, so if I want to store, let's say hello or, it can store. So now you can see whatever you want to store, that can be stored using any one of these. If you want to store number, you have integer. If you want to store a single character, you can store it using C. Okay. One thing to note over here is, if you want to store a character is always surrounded by a single quote. Okay. A character is always written within a single quote, right? We call this as single quote. And a string is always written within a double quote. Okay. So this is standard across all the languages. The character is written in a single quote and strings are written in double quote. Okay. So whenever I write something, I want to store a character, I'll write it in a single quote. If I want to store a string, I'll write it in a double quote. Okay. So these are the major types of data types. So we have like total, I guess, 6. Yeah. So these are the 6 major types of data types that we use very frequently. Yeah, show it by running a program. Yeah, we'll run this. So okay, so these are the two parts. I'll come back to variables. First, let's try to show. Okay. Now the language can do things like addition, subtraction, or something. Okay, before moving forward, let's say I just want to display all these things. Okay, so let me just display all of these. So let me display A. Okay, so let me copy this. Let me display just let. So if I want to display something, I can simply use this system.out.println and let's just display this. Okay. F D, and let's print this. This is S, the string, and then we have the lastly S P. Cool. Okay. Let's run this program, which will display all these things that we have stored in this variable. Okay. So I'm referring to. Let me explicitly convert it to float. So that language gave me some error. When I was trying to make that language do that piece of work, so it wanted me to explicitly tell it that this is float. Okay. Now you can see when I'm referring to these names, it is displaying me these values, right? It is displaying me these values. So if I have once assigned, this is known as assignment of a variable. Right? So let me write it down. I'll use this term assign again and again. Assignment of variable. Okay. Or so we are assigning values to variables, and later I'm using this values inside it. Yeah. Now the question is, why not within double quotes? Why I am not displaying it within double quotes? If I write something within double quotes, what happens is, now you see instead of A, it is displaying it as 10. Okay. If I run this way, so the machine will understand. Okay, you want to display A, right? It will display A. It does not know that I already have given the name A to someone and I want that value to be displayed. So if I want the character A to be displayed, I write it as A. If I want the value A to be displayed, I will not write within double quotes. I'll simply write it as A. Okay. So if you ever want just the value to be displayed, if it is a variable and you want the value to be displayed, You don't need to write it within double quotes. If you want that, whatever you write within double quotes, that will be displayed as it is. The computer will not try to look for if you have named something as A or did something. It will simply display. Okay. Why is it? Why did I write F at the end of it? Simply understand that since this is a small number, this can store small numbers, right? So the compiler was showing me that, you know what, you are writing a decimal, but you are trying to store it in float. You may result in losing some data, right? So you can let's try to read something what this machine was telling me, right? So let's try to read something. So possibly lossy conversion from double to float, right? So it is telling me that I am having a decimal number, I converted into double. I did not know that you wanted to store it in float. Now, since you are trying to store it in float, I may tell you, let me tell you that you may result in losing some data because a float can store only small numbers. This may be a large number and you may lose some data. So the browser, so the compiler is telling me. Now, when I tell you, you know what, I know that this is a small number and I want you to store it as float. So the computer will say, okay, since you are telling me that it is a float number, I'll not use my brains because I have limited brains. I'll just store it as float number. Okay. So now the computer is not giving me that. So if I just write a decimal number, the computer will tell, okay, let me store it in a higher, store it as a larger number, right? So it will try to store it as double. But since I told that store it in float, the computer will tell me that, you know what, you may lose some data. This can store only small numbers. Are you sure that this is a small number? You are not losing some data. Right? If I try to write, let's say float can store only numbers up till 100. Let's say, okay, and this can store larger numbers, but let's assume. And if I try to store a number 200, what will happen? So it will not be able to store it, right? It will fail. So that's why the computer was telling me that, you know what, you may lose some data. I'm not sure whether this number can be stored. It may be stored, but you should try to store it as double because there you have less chances of losing the data. Here you have high chances. That's why I explicitly told this machine that, you know what, I'm sure that this is a small number and you can store it in float. So I wrote F at the end of it. Okay. Purpose of float and double basically, so if you want to use small space, you know that your number is small and you don't want to waste your space, right? You don't want to waste your space. What do you do when you have when you store a lot of videos in your hard disk? You delete some of the videos, right? Or you compress them and store it in store them, right? So that it uses lesser space. So if we know that the number is going to be small, why waste a large amount of space? Why should we waste a large amount of space to store this number? We'll use a small space to store this number. Okay? So whatever variables we create, this uses some space in the memory to store. Okay? कहीं तो store हो रहा है, but somewhere it is going, somewhere it is storing. So this space we try to reduce by using float instead of that. Let me recap of what we learned. So firstly, we learned about a function known as println and println. So println simply displays something and then moves to the next line. If it displays something after it, that will be displayed in the next line. Okay. What does print do? Print simply displays something and it waits at the end of this last character. If you display something else, it will display at the end of this character. Wherever this character ended, it will start from there itself. Okay. The second thing we learned, if we write something after slashes, the machine will not run that code because it will tell that, okay, you know what, I will not run this code because this is known as comments. Okay, whatever you write after double slash, that will not run. Okay. You can write the entire piece of code in a single line or after spaces of 1,000 lines. It will work the same way because the machine only executes or runs this part, right? It does not run any other part. Okay. And if you write everything in a single line, it will understand the same thing. If you write it in different lines, it will understand the same. Okay. Okay. Now, the second thing we learned about was data types. So basically, we in the language we have different types of data types using which we can store data. A few of them are, so few or majority of them are which we use are integer, character, float, double, string, and boolean. Right? So these data types basically store different types of data. An integer stores a number right? It can be positive, negative. Integer can store even negative number. If I want to store -10, I can store it in the integer itself. So integer can store any kind of number, positive, negative. A character can store any single character. It can be any character from your keyboard. Okay, any character, a number, alphabet, right? You can store a zero as a character as well, right? Here zero is stored as a character. Okay, not a number. This zero is a character. We can store any special character, like we want to store plus in this character, we can do that. Okay. So any character that you can type out from your keyboard can be stored in this character. So character can store any character, alphabets, numbers, special characters, or any character. Okay. Float, what does float store? Float store any decimal numbers of any small decimal numbers to be precise. Float can store small decimal numbers. Double can store larger decimal numbers. Right? Float stores smaller decimal numbers. Double can store larger, even larger decimal numbers. Okay. String, what is string? String can store any text, right? It can be of any length, whatever length you want. Hello all, welcome to the world of programming, right? Right. So whatever you want to store as a text, you can store. Right? You can store whatever you want. You can add special characters. You can add numbers. You can add full stop. Right? Whatever you want, you can add it between these double quotes. That will be stored as string. We want then there is a special type of data type known as boolean, which just stores only two things, either true or false. Okay. Now, if I want to refer to these data that I have stored in these variables, right? What are these variables? These are the names that I gave to these data. Instead of referring, using this data again and again, I gave them the name that I want. I can use this name to display them or perform anything on them. What is string? String is basically any text that you want to store. String is text. Okay? String is nothing but text. There is two ways. So in characters, but whenever we store characters, we store it in single quotes. Whenever we store strings, we store it in double. Okay. Now here, inside here, whatever we write inside this println, inside double quotes, that will be displayed as it is. The machine will not try to look for if there is a variable with the name of this or there is something which means A, B, C, D or something, right? If I'll tell it write it in double quotes, the machine will tell, okay, this is a string that I have to display as it is, and it will not use any of its brains, and it will just display as it is, right? But if I just write it as A, what the machine will do, machine will try to go and check if there is any variable with this A. Yes, there is, and it will display its value. If I write something, let's say I'm writing system.out.println, and I'm writing in here, let's say J. There is no variable with the name J, right? We have not declared any variable with the name J. There is no variable A, C, F, D, S, D, right? These are the variables that we declare. There is no variable that we declare with the name J. So when we'll run this, what the machine will do, we'll try to run this, and it will say me, you know what, I cannot find this symbol J. It is even pointing out to this. It is telling that I tried to file a variable with the name J, but I cannot find it. Right? It is telling me this particular error that you know what, you have written a code, but I'm not able to run it because I'm not able to find this variable. Right? But if I write the same thing in double quotes, machine will not try to find this. Machine will say, okay, you want to display the character J. Okay, let me display it. Right? So it will simply display it. Okay. Got it? Okay, what is the difference between float and double? Float can simply assume the float can store smaller decimal numbers and double can store larger decimal numbers. Okay. What if we write, okay, this is a good question. What if we write a float number inside a integer? Okay. If I write something like this, what will happen? Let's check. Okay. Here, see, it is again doing the same kind of thing that you are trying to convert a double into an integer. Whenever I write something in the form of a decimal, computer understand that this is a double, right? This is a decimal number. This is and if I try to convert it into this, the computer will throw me error. You know what? You're trying to convert a decimal into an integer. I'm not going to do this. Please correct this. Right? If you want to store it as a decimal and try to rename it to double, right? Then I will do this work for you. Otherwise, I'll. So if you try to assign any other data type into other, computer will throw you error. Okay. There are ways to convert these data types into one another, but we'll learn that some other class, but not now. Okay. So for now, we'll understand that if I try to convert anything into something else, it will throw it. Okay. Okay. Can't we use Python? So Python is good in a lot of things, but Python is very slow, very slow as a Python is faster to write, but compilation time is Python is very high. So in order to perform this operation, right, but this code disappear. So I told you about compiler and interpreter, right? Each language has its own way to converting this high-level language into low-level language, right? So Python does it very slow. So Python has a very slow way of doing it. Python uses interpreter, right? And Python is a is very slow. Python's interpreter is very slow in doing this piece of work. So that's why we do not use Python for any software development, any real software development. Okay, last time everyone understood variables and data types. This is clear. How to declare the values and declare the. So we just need to write the name of the variables and just we need to assign the value. That this is the value I want to give. Right? We just give it a name and this is the value that you give. Yeah. Will we use Acciojob? This is a good question. What if we use a single quote in a println? Right. So what if we write this as a single quote in a println? So what will it happen? So it will work, but there is a cache. Okay. It does not. Okay. Can someone try to write out in the chat why did this work? Okay. Everyone try to take a guess of why did this not throw error or why this work? Character. Okay, Bhava, we did not understand anything. Yeah. So basically, it was a single character, and language understood it as a character. Computer understood. Okay, I'm trying to tell it to display a character. The same way when I wrote it as a println C, so it was trying to display a character, right? The same way it understood it as a character and it displayed it. But if I write 2-3 characters, now when I try to run this, right, you'll see it is telling me error, right? You can't display this, but previously it was able to display because I had only one character within it, and the language was taking it as a character. It told, okay, you trying to display a character as you were trying to display over here when you passed me C. Okay, let me do that for you. But if I try to write anything else, it is telling me, you know what, this is not a string. Don't try to fool me. If you want to display string, use double quotes. Don't try to pass the string inside single quotes. I'll not display that for you, right? So this language, the computer is not that dumb, right? We cannot fool him. The computer is somewhat smart, right? In this case, okay. How did it took as a character, right? How did it take it as a character? The question is, how did it take it as a character? When I wrote it in a single quote and I had only one character, but the language understood. The language told, okay, we have done this piece of work. You know what? I did this piece of work here as well. You were passing me a character and I'm displaying it. Okay, so I can do this for you. So it was displaying this. It was displaying this. But when I pass it 2-3 characters, which is not allowed, right? Character can store only a single character within it. When I write a character, when I declare a character, I can only write a single character. If I want to write multiple characters, I have to declare a string, not a character. If I want to write something like this, I'll have to declare it as a string, not a character. This is not a character, this is a string, right? So it will throw me some error that this is not a character. We're not trying to write a character inside a cat, right? What about float in F, right? So here F, basically this language understand if I write something after the decimal number as F, so language understand that this is a character which using which I'm trying to convert that this is a float number. This is not a lying around character and it is not displaying this. You can see here it is not displaying this. This is something using which I'm specifying to this language that this is a float number. This is not a double number or something. Okay. But if we use a single quote for string, it will throw us error, right? If I use a single quote over here, it will throw us some error that you know what, you are trying to write a string, but you wrote single quotes, right? So this is not allowed in Java. You are basically writing some code, right? It is showing this unclosed character. It understood that when I started a single quote, it thought that this is a character, but it saw that okay, there is a lot of characters. This is not a single character, so it is showing me some error. But if I write it within double quote, it will not show me error. So there is some rules that this language has written using which I can write code. I cannot violate any one of these rules. And these are the small rules that this language has written. If I want to write a string, it has to be within double quote. If I want to write a character, it has to be in a single quote. If I want to display something, I can use a println to write these variables as it is. If I want to display some string, I need to use it inside double quote. Okay. If I want to display a like any data, let's say I want to display a number, I can simply pass it as number. It will still not throw me error because it understands numbers. It will display this number as it is. Okay, but I cannot violate any rule. I cannot store a string inside a single quote because a single quote can store only a single character, not strings. Okay, so if I ever I write single quote, I simply mean I can only store one character in between it. I cannot write multiple characters. Okay. Clear? Yeah. Is it not mandatory to declare the character? No, it is not mandatory to declare give names to these variables. Okay. We just like to give them names because we want to refer them, but if we are simply using to display them, it is not mandatory. Okay. Okay. Take 2 minutes break over here. Okay, for those of you who got a bit tired, so take 2 minutes break over here, and for those of you who have doubts, I can take that now. Okay. What if we provide large decimal to float? What if we provide a large decimal to float? Right? If we try to provide a large decimal, let's say, right? Okay, this is a large decimal that we are trying to provide to this float. You'll see, okay, you'll see that this tried to convert it into float, but it failed. Right? So it is showing me this, it is able to do it now. But let's say let's try to provide somewhat larger than this, which I guess it cannot store larger than this. Okay, so it is just giving me E13. It is not showing this entire number. It is adding this E13 at the end of it. It is telling me that, you know what, I lost some data. I was not able to store it. But this is what your data looks like. Something. Okay, you can see they stored this much amount of characters, this much amount of digits that I had in my data. Stored it till 5 from somewhere here, right? And that's the remaining it lost. And it is telling me that your number was something different. Sorry, I lost your number. It was something 13-digit number, and then you had decimal points, but I was only able to store this, so I'm showing you this. Okay, so just try to write a large number in your calculator. If you have a calculator, just try to write a large decimal number, or try to multiply a very two large decimal numbers. You'll see you'll get the output at the end. There will be something E13 or something. Right? So E13 says that this is the number raised to the power 13. Sorry, I could not store the entire number. Only in part that I was able to store was this. So 1 point. I started from 1 point here, and it is basically telling after a 1 there were 13 characters. Okay, so it is this into 10 to the power 13. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So it is basically saying after 1 there were 13 characters, and then there was decimal point, and then there was something else. But I could not store everything, so I just wrote something which will make give some sense to it. Right? Yeah, Boolean can be used for false. Yes. So Boolean can store both the things. It can store true as well as false. So we can store false as well in the Boolean. So whatever questions you're getting, like, can we store large numbers in float? Can we store false in Boolean? Can we store what will happen if I try to write more characters than one in a single code, right? So all those things you just, I'll advise, just go to this compiler, right? Just whatever question is coming to your mind, that is good, right? If you're getting questions, that is good because you're trying to understand, right? So that's the best scenario that I can get. You are getting questions and you are trying to understand. Go to this, play around with it as much as you can, right? Just try to play around with it. You'll get answer to most of your questions by yourself. How is the boolean works, right? So boolean is basically a special child, right? So JavaScript has all the data types, those are his childs, and he says that, okay, boolean, you are my special child. You know what, you are my special child. You can show only two values, and that can be true and false. Okay, this has special usages, right? We use it especially, right? These are something which we know, right? This is something which is only specific to programming, this boolean data type. What is the importance of the import wala line? So basically, we have a lot of functions in program that we can use, right? We can see we are using system.out.println, we are using system.out.print, we are using this int, char, float, double, all these things, right? So similarly, if I want to import a function that is not present by default, right? There is the function is not present by default, whatever I want to use. So this thing we call as function, right? This is a function. System.out.println is a function. System.out.print is a function. So if I want to use a function which is not present by default, I write that import wala line to get that function. Okay, give me this function, I'll use it. Okay. Okay. We'll learn that. We'll learn what this import means. What is this? What is the difference between JDK and JVM? Okay. So JVM is that name the interpreter that JavaScript has. JDK is a Java development kit. So what is that? So that is basically, we can understand it as a piece of software that helps us to develop things using Java. Okay, for now, in the simplest example, it helps us to develop software using Java. Okay. Can we use online compile? For now, I'll advise you to use the online compile. Okay, because this is easier to use. You don't need to install any software. You don't need to do anything. Just try to go here. You can try to log in if you want to save all your code that you're writing. So you can use it. Okay. So, okay, clear? Okay, I hope everyone is back by now. Okay, please repeat float. Float is basically something that stores a decimal number. Okay, so double stores a decimal number. So double can store larger decimal. Okay, let me just try to show you. Okay, let me just try to show you the difference. So this is a decimal number that I'm storing in float, and the same decimal number I'm storing in double. Okay, let's run this. You see now, float is only able to store it till this 5 2, right? Till this much precision, float is able to store, and double is able to store more number of digits, right? Double is, or this number is even larger for double to store, but double is able to store more than the float, right? So if we have a smaller decimal number, we want to store it, we can store it in float. Float will be able to store only smaller decimal number. Double will be able to store larger decimal numbers, right? So if a decimal number is larger, it will double will be able to store. You can see double stores till this much, right? Double is able to store this much digit, and then it is not able to store this last 4 digits. Float is only able to store it till this much. The float can store a smaller decimal number, double can store a larger decimal number, and that is the only difference. Okay, for those of you who are non-tech, are you facing any difficulty understanding any of this? We have not done anything like too complicated, right? We have just started to write out key, how can Combinator tell me something, or how can we store some kind of data, right? Not difficult, right? Easy, right? For now, it is easy. Just giving names to something, giving names to people. That's as simple as that. Okay. Now, there is one thing, last thing that I want to tell you. And if you want, you can keep a screenshot of this when I complete writing out this. Okay. So we told that we can give names to these values, right? Right. How can we give input? How can we display things that we learn gradually? Okay. Okay. I told that we can give names, and these names are known as variables. These names are known as variables. A, C, F, D, S, D. All these are known as variables. Right? These are data types, and these are variables. Now we can give names. Now, since we are giving names, there has to be some rule in order to give the name. Right? For example, when our mother and father gave names to us, they had few rules in their mind that our title should end with this particular thing. Our name should start with this particular alphabet. I should not have a number in my name, right? All these things our parents had in the back of their mind, right? How to print in the same line in the next line. In order to print in the same line, you can use this function system.out.print. And in order to print the same thing in the next line, you use the function system.out.print. Okay. So this, after printing this, it changes the line. Okay. So can you continue to teaching us in the main batch? Yes, I think I may get, but I cannot. But whoever teacher takes your classes, I can guarantee that he will be teaching. If not as good as me, better than me. Okay, so that I can for sure guarantee. So whichever instructor you will get, they'll you will be the best. Because all the instructors that teach at ACU are literally very good. For a few of you, I know that they have attended some other instructors Precourse as well, right? So you will never feel any difficulty with any of the instructors. Okay? So we understand rules. Now tell me, and do any one of your name has a number in it? I don't think, right? Elon Musk gave a name to the child, EAFC something. But apart from that child's name, I don't think there is any person whose name has a number, right? Because when a parent gave us this name, they had this rule in their mind that I will not give a number, I will not have a number in between the name of my child, right? So there was some rule that they also followed when they gave names to us. Same way, when we create variables, we'll also follow the rules that the language tells us that these are the rules that you should follow while giving names to the variables. Okay. Just a second. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, so that was one exception I showed, right? Elon Musk's child has a, yeah, I'll accept all your LinkedIn invitations if you have sent. Okay. Don't worry for that. Okay. So yeah, the language tells us a few rules that we should follow in order to name the variables. Okay. So what is the first rule? That the variables are case sensitive. So what does this mean? What does case sensitive mean? So Java is a case sensitive language. Right? What does case sensitive mean? Right? What is this thing that I'm told 2 times? So basically, if I create a variable with small a and I create a variable with capital A, okay? So these are two different variables. These are not the same variables. Small a and capital A is not the same. Okay? So if ever I am writing, so if I've written something as S capital, I have not written it just to write that S is capital. It will not work if you write the S small, right? If you write the S small, the language will not be able to understand it. You have to write this SS capital. In string, I've written this SS capital. It is not that I've just written it to show you that this is a good way to write. If I write it as small, it will not work. Okay? So Java in itself is a case sensitive language. If you write something as a small a, that is different. If you write something as a capital A, that is different. Here also you can see, if when I create small a and a capital A, it is displaying two different values, right? We can create two different variables with the same alphabet if they are of different cases, right? So variable names are case sensitive. And not only variable names, JavaScript in itself is a case sensitive language. Okay. Small a and capital A are different. Small b, capital B is different. Okay. Okay. Here, this is the first rule, right? The second rule is you cannot include any special character. No special characters are allowed except underscore. Okay. So there is only one special character. Yeah. No special character का मतलब क्या होता है? No special character means anything apart from the alphabets or numbers. Okay. No special character means anything apart from alphabets and numbers. Okay. So anything apart from alphabets and numbers are not allowed except this underscore sign that is just above the minus sign in your keyboard. If you are using this. Okay. Okay. To be precise, there is one more character that is allowed. Okay, but you should not use it. Okay, that's why I'm not mentioning it here. There is one more character that is allowed, that is the dollar sign. Okay, but I'll advise you not to use it ever. Okay, do not use this dollar sign ever in your code in the name of alphabets. Sorry, in the name of characters. Okay, do not use special characters in your code. Okay, in the name of these variables. Okay, why? Because this is not advisable to use this dollar sign because it no one uses this. To be honest, okay? No one uses it, and I'll advise you not to use it. Okay. This is something which is not followed across all the languages, and that's why we do not use it, and that's why no one uses it. Okay. So just remember it as we can use special characters only as underscore. Only underscore is allowed. Apart from underscore, no other special character is allowed. Okay. Okay. The next thing is we cannot start the name of variable with underscore, and even I guess numbers as well. I guess even numbers is not allowed in yeah, even numbers. So we should always start the name of the variable with alphabet. Let me simply write it. Start the name of the variable with alphabet. Okay. So always start the name of the variables with alphabet. Okay. Variables are case sensitive. You are not allowed to use any special character apart from underscore. There's one more character like dollar is allowed, but you should not use. Okay. So simply remember only special character that you can use it underscore, and start the name of the variables with alphabet. Okay. And one more thing, variables name. Variable name can be of any length. What does this mean? If I want to create a variable like this, this is the name of the variable. I want to create it. I can create it. Okay? So if I want to name this variable as this, I can name it. There's no restriction in the length of this variable. Okay? If I want to name it as it is, like however I want, I can name it. Right? We should generally follow to name it good names, right? To give good names to this variable, so it becomes easier for us to later know which this variable is. Why is there no limit on the size of the variable? Because this is a name that we are giving, right? The computer may store it with some other name as well, which it may know, okay, this is the name. Whenever I write something, this it's stored. So no language has put any restriction on the size of this variable names that you want to provide. Right? If you want to provide a large length of name, you can provide. Okay. So there is no limit on the length of this variable names. Whatever length you want, you can provide. And yeah, so by special character, like this is a part of this, but I'm writing it separately as well because students confuse between space and special character. So spaces are not allowed. Okay, spaces are not allowed in variables names. So a variable name cannot contain spaces. Like for example, your name contains a space between your first name and the last name, right? Or your first name and middle name and the last name. Same does not go around for variables. So variable name cannot contain spaces. Okay. Okay. So these are uh, the rules to name variables. Okay. Clear 5 rules. So firstly, variable names are case sensitive. By case sensitive, I mean you can have two variables with the same name if you are writing this as small and the other as capital. So this is allowed because these are case sensitive. These are considered as two different variables because these are two different names. Okay. You're not allowed to use special characters, anything else apart than underscore. Only underscore is allowed. And special character means anything apart from alphabets or numbers. Can type, whatever you can type out from your keyboard, apart from alphabets and numbers, everything categorizes as special character. Okay. Even underscore is a special character. Sorry, spaces or underscores. In the term of programming, we call this spaces as sorry. Okay, sorry. Sorry for that. I got confusion. So in the term of programming, we call this character as underscore, right? So only underscore is allowed. Apart from this, no other character is allowed. On special characters also includes this spaces. Every time I refer space, this is also a special character. I mentioned it specifically because sometimes students get confused. The space is not a special character; it is a normal character. No, it is also a special character because it is not an alphabet, neither it is a number. Okay, anything that is not an alphabet nor a number, it is a special character, and we cannot have that in a name of variable. We should always start the name of the variable with an alphabet. Alphabet means A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? We can only start the name of the variable with this alphabet. We can also use dollar sign in a variable name, but I'll advise you not to use it. You can never use dollar signs, never get used to using this dollar sign in your variable names because it is not allowed in a lot of languages. And if you, okay, let me just show you why I am not advising you not to use this. Okay, then this question will get cleared out. Okay, if you're having this question, let me just show you why I am telling you. Rules for variables in Java. Okay. So if you have any related to questions in Java, the only site you should refer is this Oracle. Okay. So this is the site, and if you go to this site as well, so this is the official site. So Oracle is the company that maintains this Java. Okay, and you will find somewhere over here. You can see it has always referred that additionally the dollar sign is a character by convention and is never used at all. Okay, but your variable name should always contain, you should avoid using it, right? So they themselves advise that you should not use it. That's why I tell you not to use it. If the person who created this language is trying to suggest you to not use this thing, so you should not use it. Okay, as simple as that. Because the reason I find it is not supported in other languages, so that's why I don't get acquainted to it, and it is not a good. It does not make a good variable name as well. Okay, can we use pound? No, you cannot use any other special character apart from underscore. Okay, so this is the only character that you can use in variable name, or you should use. You should not use. Okay. Start the name of the variable with an alphabet. The variable can be of any length. You can name the name of length of the variable can be of any length. Right? There is no restriction in that, and spaces are not allowed in this variable. So you cannot have spaces as you have in your name, right? As we have. So this is not a variable. If I write something like A space C, right? If I want to write this as a variable, this is not a variable. If I try to run this, it will throw me some error that what is this C doing in midway. Right? It is showing me that okay, this is what is this C doing in middle of this? Right? This is not. Okay. These are the rules that you should keep in mind while creating or naming your variables. Okay. You can just try to Google out online Java compilers. You will get a very long list of Java compilers. You can use any one of them. All of them works fine. I prefer this because this is somewhat smooth as compared to the other compilers. Yeah, for now, I'll advise you use the online one because you are learning code for the first time. I don't want you to run into the setup issues or all those things. So try to use the online one. Later, you can set up a offline compiler as well. If we take the same variables of what it will print, right? This is a good question. If I try to take the same variable, give the same variable name to two different things, it will throw me errors that you are trying to give the same name to two different things, right? It is telling me that variable A is already defined in the same method. You are trying to give it the same name, right? It is telling me this error that you cannot define two variables with the same name in the program, in the same program. Okay. Yeah, can we use A underscore C? Yes, that is the right way to do it. Instead of space, if you want to have two things, you want to separate them, you should use underscore as a variable name, right? So here you have to change it as well. A underscore. So if you want to use something as space, so that's why underscore is allowed. So that you want to use spaces. So instead of space, you can use underscore. Okay. one program can has two main word function. No, it will not. It will show you the errors, right? Can I use same variable in different methods? Yes, you can. Same variable in different methods. So now I gave you the idea. Now you have all the tools to explore, right? You have an online compiler. You have a bunch of questions in your mind. Can I give the same variable name to different things? What will happen if I try to assign a large number to float? Or what will happen if I try to assign a large number to integer? Or what will happen if I try to assign a character to integer? Just play around with it for today. Okay, play around with it as much as you can to know the rules. Try to violate these rules and see what are the errors that you are getting, if you're getting errors or not, right? If you're not getting errors or whether you are getting errors, right? All these things, try to violate these rules, try to break these things and see, right? Try to store large numbers and see how large numbers can you store in this integer, how large numbers can you store in float, right? What are the different kind of characters that you can store in this space. Okay, okay, just so space is also a character, and this can prove this, that if I try to store a space in here, right? If I run this, it will not show me error that you are not storing any character or something. It is running and it is displaying a space. Okay, you can see that this is displaying one space. Like how will I show you space? But this displays one space, right? So this is displaying a space in here. So Boolean example is this, right? So Boolean is basically one special character, one special type of data type, which simply stores either true or false, right? So if you store true, it will display true. If you store false, it will display false. Nothing much, right? Okay. Okay, there is one more thing that I forgot to mention in variable, right? One rule I forgot to mention. You cannot use reserved words as variables. Okay, what are reserved words? Now, what does reserved words mean? So all the words that we use to run our language, like in, system, out, right? All these are reserved words. Right? So out is not a reserved word. Int is a reserved word. Char is a reserved word. So if I want to create a variable with the name char, it will not allow me to do that. Okay. So I cannot use any one of these reserved words to make a as a name of the variable. Okay. So the variable name should not be a reserved word. Okay. But there is a definite set of reserved words that the language provides. Java has 48 such reserved words that you cannot use as the name of the variables. Okay. So the variable name should never be a reserved word. By reserved word, I mean that anything like integer, float, double, strings, these have special meaning in this line, right? Whenever I write in float, this has special meaning. Anything that has a special meaning in the language, this language understands. You cannot use it as the variable name. Okay. What about long data type, right? So I'm getting this question again and again. So long is basically similar to integer, right? So as long is the same version of float and double in the terms of integer, right? If you want to store a larger integer, let's say L is equals to 100. So it will be, you can be able to store it using a same version of float and double in the numbers. If you want, so integer stores a smaller number or float a long stores a larger number. Let's check what is so this is a large number that I try to store in integer. This is a large number. So same number that I tried. Okay, let's store the same number in both the places. Okay, and let's see which is able to store till. May throw some error as well. It is showing an error. This is a large number, too large number to store it in integer. This number is not able to be stored in the long as well. Right. So let's decrease this number. Let's now try to store it. So both are failing still. Let's try to decrease this number even to smaller size, and let's try to see. Okay, now both are able to store. Yeah, so both are able to store this. Let's try to store a larger number than this. So both are able to store. So basically, assume that this is a smaller. This can store smaller numbers. This can store larger numbers. Okay. Yeah. So class time is over, right? I also had that in mind. 11 o'clock we reached. Yes, sir. Yes. So we'll understand in depth of how these things work. Right. For now, we'll understand the smaller bits. Right. We understood variables. We understood what are the rules to name it, and we understood data. Right. Let's keep it till this much for now. We're introducing ourselves to programming. Let's go slowly, and then we can understand all the bits and pieces of it. What is the difference between long and int? So int can store a smaller number, long stores a larger number. Okay, long can store a larger number, int can store a smaller number. Okay, let me just check whether it can be stored. This is also too large for long to store. I can tell it also. So okay. I don't know why this online compiler is behaving differently. So basically, in terms of size, this takes 4 bytes in memory, and this takes 8 bytes in memory. Okay, I'll explain about the sizes tomorrow, and that will bring up more difference of what this variables actually mean in memory. Okay. For now, assume that it can store smaller numbers and long can store larger numbers. Okay. Similar to how float and double will behave, right? Float can store smaller decimals and long can store larger decimals. Yeah, that can be one cause, right? I can write L at the end of it. That may solve the issue. Yeah, now it is able to store. Sorry for that. Yeah, I missed this L at the end. Now it is able to store. Right, this stores smaller numbers, and this can store even larger numbers than that. Right? Okay, understood. Let me stop there. Okay. Okay, now everyone just try to play around with it. Go to this online compiler, whichever compiler you want to use. Play around with all those things. Whatever questions you are getting in your mind, just try to play around. You'll get answers to most of them. Okay. Thank you everyone. See you again tomorrow. Good night. Bye bye.